Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Monday night. It's time for Revolutionary Change. I'm Jen Perlman.
I'm Peter Hager, and a good evening to you.
Hello.
So we have another adventurous evening with lots of horrible things to talk about, but what else
How
is
come there's never really good things to talk about?
because the country is falling apart.
It's because
There
we're
are,
dealing with psychopathic people.
there are good things to talk about, like Zoran and Miss Rachel singing to handful of school children, and that's all cheerful and everything. But that's
Yes, it's cheerful until he feels the need to condemn Hamas.
yeah, because they're a terrorist organization, and
Mm.
the Israelis are very sensitive people, and and apparently we're going to have a good night tonight because Toronto law really likes us, and we love you
Well,
too.
and let me tell you, I appreciate Toronto law. And Toronto law is living in a very ziocentric location. So Toronto law has to deal with a lot of crap there.
Well, aren't they on kind of? Well, it depends on what province you're in, right? Whether it's
All I know is that Toronto is like Ziocentral.
well, Toronto, yes. I don't know
That's
about
what
the rest of the country. I don't think the rest of
No, it's probably like this country. I think it is. It probably percentage wise, proportionate wise, in terms of the Jewish community, I would think Canada is probably pretty proportionate with where our numbers are. But I'm just talking, there is definitely a very large Zionist contingency in Toronto.
Well, I do remember when we had Justin Bonomo on our channel, the professional poker player who's
Yeah.
free Palestine. And I remember when he mentioned that Daniel Negreanu, who's probably one of the three or four greatest poker players who ever lived, is a rabid Zionist from
Yeah.
Toronto,
Yeah.
like insanely pro-Israel. And it, people are weird, Jen.
Okay,
We
so
just
Toronto law is from Orlando and now lives in Toronto. So,
there
and
you go.
apparently has said that I was correct in assessing the Ziocentral nature of Toronto.
Yeah. Well, especially if you're a successful lawyer and you live in a good part of town in Toronto, I would imagine that, yeah. Again, I'm sure in Canada, just as it is here in the States, just as it is in any other part of the world, it is very much a class issue. The people with the ways and means are very much enamored with the state of Israel, and that should not come as any surprise to anybody. And therein lies one of the bigger issues that we have seen recently. Uh, Bill Ackman is somebody who we've covered before. We've covered when necessary. I think he's a douchebag of the worst kind. I also think that he was probably involved in some way, shape, or form in Charlie Kirk's removal. I'm not saying anything more than that. We'll leave it there. But what I will say is that this is a person who clearly is very political and operates behind the scenes in ways that not many people necessarily get to notice. And on top of everything else, he throws his money around quite a bit in a lot of places that not everybody is necessarily paying attention to. But one of the places where he ended up getting caught was this fundraiser through GoFundMe on behalf of Jonathan Ross. Apparently, the person who committed murder is a victim and needs to be protected.
What's the link between Ackman and ICE? What's the link between Ackman and the Minneapolis situation wherein he feels compelled to do that? Like, I understand where he is in terms of, Zio Hell and why he's a big proponent of that and puts his little financial tentacles into that. But what's the connection that would inspire him, you think, to get involved in terms of giving financial assistance to a murdering thug?
Are you asking me or are you telling me?
I don't know. I don't know enough about Bill Ackman other than he's a financial bully.
Well, here's one of the big connections that Chanel points out that I agree with.
That I understand how that is, but I still don't understand why you would financially be supporting someone who just shot a woman in the face.
Because if there is a belief that we are heading towards some type of a police state, some type of a Gestapo, which is real, and the people with real power and money, like Bill Ackman has, and he is married to an Israeli, the whole thought process is, I want to make sure that everyone knows that I'm on the side of the state. I'm on the side of the powers that be, and I don't want there to be any misconstruing, who I'm in favor of. And
No, I think Dastra gets it. Yeah. I think that actually is it.
He's a total scumbag. There is no question about it. And so somebody was able to catch that, in this case, Jackie Sweet, who I believe is a reporter in D.C., it appears billionaire Bill Ackman has donated $10,000 to a GoFundMe for Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent who killed Renee Good. Ackman has reposted the fundraiser, but hasn't posted about his own donation. Well, it looks like somebody, first of all, the fact that he is reposting the fundraiser for Jonathan Ross, isn't that kind of a dead giveaway already? Like, in a way, you would expect that if he's sharing this fundraiser, that, yeah, naturally, he probably would donate to it. And maybe he's going to cover his own tracks and not allow people to see, not only did he donate, but he donated a nice chunk of money. But remember, Bill Ackman wipes his ass for 10 grand every day. So this is not a surprise.
Also, he clearly wants people to know, because otherwise you could do it anonymously.
Yeah, well, there should be no misunderstanding with somebody like Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman was one of the primary drivers of the crackdowns against the Free Palestine movement at Columbia University and all universities throughout the country. Much as I get on Ayal Jacoby for all the BS that he does, Ayal Jacoby is merely an agent of the ruling class. He's not an actual ruler. He doesn't have that type of money and power as part of the Zio state. He's a member of it and he has influence. But somebody like Ackman, he has influence and he has money. And so he has, he's only worth about $9.3 billion. It's amazing how much the wealth continues to grow for these people. And they don't do anything. That's the thing that's one of the most perplexing aspects of collapsing capitalism, is watching these people get endless amounts of money in a system where everyone else seems to be losing. Well, how is it that a handful of people continue to win? Well, protecting the state is one of the ways to do it. And so it shouldn't come as any surprise that that's what he's doing. Bill Ackman is known for being a punk and a chump and complaining about, getting a hangnail of sorts. He's one of those people. So yeah, this tracks.
And why is it that there is a GoFundMe for Jonathan Ross? Like, what's the premise of the GoFundMe? Why does he need a FundMe account?
Well, Jen,
he hasn't even been arrested.
Well, it's you know what? It's funny you mentioned that, because there is actually a reason behind this. There is actually a reason as to why this particular individual has himself a GoFundMe, because it turns out that the person who started the GoFundMe is a real interesting character in his own right. It's not like these people, don't have their own sinister background, that once you kind of dig in on it, you realize that they have their own,
But when did this start? Like, why did somebody start a GoFundMe for him when he hasn't been arrested or injured? Like, what is the premise of the GoFundMe? I don't understand. Was his $50,000 signing bonus with ICE not enough?
Well, no, it's not about that. You see, what you have to remember is that apparently Jonathan Ross has gone into hiding. That's the understanding. And apparently there were movie
so he has to be able to live in hiding like he's in WITSEC. So in other words, that's what the GoFundMe is, to support him, because he has to be in hiding because he's so righteous, but the world just doesn't get it.
Yeah, no.
He was defending himself, the misogynist pig that he is.
Well, it takes one to know one. And the person who decided to set this up is a guy named Clyde Emmons. Clyde Emmons is the guy who set this up. Now, this is a very interesting story because it actually has multiple layers to it now that I think people are going to find interesting. So Clyde Emmons sets up this GoFundMe. And Colin, if you could pull it up, please. This is according to Wired. Lots of rules being broken here, which should not come as any surprise. Clyde Emmons is somebody who does not like lefties, if you will, very militant type person, and evidently was able to get this thing going. And according to Wired, GoFundMe ignores own rules by hosting a legal defense fund for the ICE agent who killed Renee Good. The fundraiser for the ICE agent in the Renee Good killing has stayed online in seeming breach of GoFundMe's own terms of service, prompting questions about selective enforcement. Well, anybody who knows the history of GoFundMe, especially in the last few years, would know that they are selective in what they will and will not allow. Well, thanks, Colin. Last free article, so now I got to read it. All right, so let's see if I can read this to you guys.
And can you can move the paywall.
Damn paywall. All right, so let me see if I can grab another one.
It's okay.
Man, that's the problem. Again, one of the problems with the news today is that you really do not have the ability to get any of this information. So I've got from the USA Today, and Colin, I'm going to send this to you again. See if this one comes up. I believe it will. USA Today tends to not have a paywall. So I'm going to start reading.
Sure, shouldn't deserve to be paid, so they shouldn't have a paywall.
Yeah. So ICE agent who shot Renee Good gets $10,000 donation from Bill Ackman. Billionaire Bill Ackman is one of more than 8,000 people who have donated to an unverified online fundraiser to support the federal immigration agent who fatally shot 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis last week. As of the morning of January 12th, the GoFundMe campaign created by Clyde Emmons has raised $374,553, including a $10,000 donation from hedge fund Billionaire. Another $5,000 anonymous donation also topped the list. Created January 9th, the fundraiser aims to aid the potential legal defense of Jonathan Ross, an ICE removal officer based in Minnesota. The fundraiser had not yet been verified as of January 12th, according to GoFundMe.
I just don't understand why he needs a defense when he hasn't even been arrested. And by the way,
well, he's totally innocent.
I don't care what happened to the criminal case with this motherfucker. He needs to, he'll get what's coming to him either judiciously or extrajudicially. But the bigger issue is that money, while it seems like a lot of money, that's not going to be shit for the wrongful death litigation that's going to come against him. And no, he will not have immunity. So when that comes against him, every single penny that he earns in this GoFundMe is going to end up going to her wife and then some. So let them do a nice little GoFundMe for this guy.
Our trust and safety team is currently reviewing all fundraisers related to the shooting in Minneapolis to ensure they are compliant with our terms of service. GoFundMe told USA Today on January 12th. We are also working to gather additional info from the organizer of this fundraiser. During the review process, the Redwood City, California-based company wrote in a statement, all funds remain safely held by our payment processors. GoFundMe terms of service prohibit fundraisers that raise money for the legal defense of anyone formally charged with a violent crime. Any campaigns that violate this policy will be removed. Yeah, I think this guy committed a violent crime. Just a thought.
Yeah, that we all saw, and now they're going to try to convince us that we didn't see what we know we saw, but we know what we saw. And I want to be extra clear about not just what happened, but the nature of this particular individual. I'm so loath to call this a man because it is so unmanly. Anywho, so you could tell that this guy was just so enraged that these women were speaking back to him and weren't really paying attention to him. He was so enraged. His little masculinity, so enraged. So what I actually came up with something that I thought we could do for a story time. about this man, but you tell me when you're ready for that.
Who is Bill Ackman and why did he donate to Ross's GoFundMe? Ackman is the 59-year-old founder of Pershing Square Capital Management. Yeah, more wealth management, my friends. You want to know why the United States is collapsing? Because everything is tied up in money that is not tangible to needs and wants and infrastructure within the United States. Again, Bill Ackman is an enemy of the people. And he's a psyofuck. Ooh, Understanding Small Dick Energy, the premier guide to navigating micropenis forests in the wild. Interesting. Very interesting.
That's where we are right now, folks. That is where we are. We are understanding small dick energy.
I am a big believer in our legal principle that one is innocent until proven guilty, Ackman wrote on a January 11th post on X. The whole situation is a tragedy, an officer doing his best to do his job, and a protester who likely did not intend to kill the officer, but whose actions in a split second led to her death. Our country is stronger if we work together to resolve complex issues that are tearing us apart. Now, I want to explain, hold on there, Colin. I want to be very clear about this. There is no difference between, the only true difference between liberals and conservatives in the political arena is at what level of asshole you are when you make a statement. Bill Ackman is trying in a very liberal-like way, because he's a major funder of the Democratic Party, to make it seem like this is an unfortunate situation, but make no mistake, I'm on the side of the fascist Gestapo that's running around in the streets, and I'm going to give them money as well. So this is really no different than the guy who started the GoFundMe, who's very pro, again, this, and I would ask this of our good friend, Anthony Aguilar, who's here tonight. What is this obsession, this cuckoldery towards law enforcement? It's one thing to support the troops. It's one thing to support police, but this, like, let me get on my hands and knees and blow you, and you can fuck me in the ass too if you want to do it, about law enforcement. What is this obsession with it?
Let me introduce you to the manual. Again, this is the manual for understanding what you're talking about. Understanding small dick energy in the wild. See that? This is the premier guide to navigating the micro penis forest. That's the kind of shit we're talking about with these men. Again, I'm very loath to use the word men. It's very loosely. I'll say loosely, men.
Of course, Marvin Vargas wants to break my chops. I'm not surprised. That's what he does best. But I got to keep it 100 because, again, I am not anti-cop and I'm not anti-military. I'm anti.
I am.
I'm anti-ICE and I'm anti-military industrial complex. Again, there has to be
yes and yes.
There has to be a distinction, and unfortunately, many people don't want to have that distinction. And it's sycophantic patriotism, but it's more than that. It's a mental disorder. And I bring this up because it doesn't seem like anybody's been talking about Clyde Emmons, the guy who set up this fundraiser. Well, it turns out that he's got a little bit of an interesting backstory, which is not going to surprise anybody. I did a little research, and here's what we found. Colin, if you would, please.
You could almost call them eunuchs. Is it rational? I mean, when you're talking micro, you're micro. I guess it would depend on if you need like a microscope for the micro.
Colin, you have it?
He doesn't know which one you mean.
He does. I sent it to him a few minutes ago.
Okay. There it is.
No, you got it. Okay. So will this surprise anybody? Probably not. This is Clyde Emmons. Clyde Emmons has been convicted of sexual harassment, among other things. And he's a sex offender.
Wait. This is from the sex offender registry.
Yes.
Okay. That means that it's more than just sexual harassment by default. Like this is, he's on the sex offender registry.
Correct. So should it really be any surprise that a person who hears the words effing bitch after she's been assassinated and then thinks, yeah, I got to do a fundraiser for that guy?
Right. Oh, Noah, this Clyde guy is the gentleman. Again, I use that term like facetiously. This is the man who is doing the GoFundMe account, who started the GoFundMe page for the piece of shit that murdered Nicole Good, right? Renee Good.
And if you zoom in on his face, Colin, again, this should not come as any surprise.
What? I don't know why you think that. That's just, I mean, nobody looks good in a mugshot. And I'm not, the physical appearance isn't. If this was a really nice guy, you'd say throw on a beard and he could be Santa Claus in the off season.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, but that's not, what's your point?
Well, my point is, if you have a person who already has a very negative opinion towards women, so much so that he's been put on the sex offenders registry, that it should not come as any surprise that he set up a fundraiser for somebody who committed malicious murder against a woman. I take great offense to that. I don't look a thing like that. Get out of here with that.
Right. And that's, again, this is somebody, we're back to the whole point of story time with, understanding small dick energy. These are extremely, very insecure, emasculated boys. I mean, he saw someone shoot a woman in the face, call her a fucking bitch, and thought, yeah, I'm gonna fundraise for that guy.
Yeah. And again, does that person also have a small weenie? Maybe. He definitely does not get along well with women. Clearly.
Yeah. Let's say, safe to say, okay, for the most part, with some exceptions, people on the registry have issues. And yes, there are people that are there because they were drunk one night and were taking a piss in public and some kids saw them and they had to get on the registry. I mean, yeah, there are those people, but this guy's not that.
I'm going to say this one last time.
I don't care.
One last time. Even if she was breaking the law, there is no excuse for shooting her in the face at point blank range, malicious. Again, that was murder with malice. That's not, oh my God, I'm fearing for my life and the whole, she was going to run me over. First of all, let's just assume that she was trying to run him over. She's at a standstill. How fast do you think she can get that car to hit him before? I mean, come on! Why can't
the tires were the tires were facing in the other direction? Look, we all know what we saw.
I'm trying to give you I'm trying to give it all to you.
And at the end of the day,
and even at the end of the day, it still doesn't make any sense.
No, you could have just arrested her. You could have arrested her if you really felt the need. Obviously, you would have nothing to charge her with, but also you have her license plate. You have so no, this was an angry, small dick man. And clearly the fact that you work for ICE already indicates that you have some serious issues. And yeah, and I hope that this person lives the rest of his life in hiding where he can't go anywhere.
Oh, he's fucked. Yeah, he probably thought he was going to get away with this, but somebody figured out who he was, and that was the end of it.
Well, people at this point, with the way that there's social media and everybody had their phones out and was recording him, he's an idiot. And honestly, I do believe that eventually he'll be found or surface, or he'll show up and try to turn himself in. So it's not like a, standoff situation, but
no.
Yeah, this is a pig. And that's the kind of people that go and work for ICE. Well, again, I'm an abolitionist, so I don't think any of them are our friends, but he was just so, you could see it. And then when you see the close video of the whole thing, you see that from his camera perspective, he actually switches his phone to his other hand. So to allow him to take his gun. And that was before he walked around inside of the car. So he was already preparing to pull his sidearm. Like that was already in his mind against a woman sitting still, smiling in a beanie and saying, yeah, it's all right. I'm not mad at you. Yeah, I could see how that's so threatening.
Hold on. They were 1000% antagonizing them. But you know what?
I don't care.
It doesn't matter. You're shooting to kill somebody. I can't believe this even has to be discussed. If you seriously thought that she was a threat or that she was causing a problem, do you know what you do? You arrest her for disorderly conduct. And that is a misdemeanor in which she would go to jail, they would pay a fine, and she'd be out the next day. And you know what?
She wouldn't even spend the night, but that's not the point.
Probably not.
No, but here's really what it comes down to, right? Like, I don't care what she did. That's what's so interesting is we're all sitting here arguing about what she did or didn't do or what direction the car was facing. That's irrelevant. It's really irrelevant. Well, first of all, to me, ICE is unconstitutional in its own existence. Everything about them is rogue. So the fact that they do rogue shit when they're a rogue agency just sort of goes for me. Like that's just.
But this again leads to a bigger problem here, which is the idea that there even has to be this argument, again, this justifiable homicide aspect of law enforcement that, hey, don't cross law enforcement and they could do whatever they want. Like, how big of a cuck can you possibly be? And I bring this up because, as you know, and this is something you wanted to talk about.
You know what she was doing, though, right? Like what she was doing there.
Yeah, no, again, it's, as I said.
No, I'm saying, like, do you know what she was doing? Like, they were the people that were wearing whistles in their neighborhood and alerting people that ICE was on the scene. These are people that were doing a community watch to protect their neighbors from the Gestapo. And for people to, like, that's something I'd be doing. So when you say she was disrupting, hell yeah, she was disrupting. She's protecting her neighbors. That's what we all should be doing. You know what? The bigger question is why isn't everybody disrupting these people?
As I've said, the reason why I am so sick and tired of hearing people complain about illegal immigration in this country, you are cucking yourself for the state. Again, somebody like Bill Ackman, these multinational corporate scum fuckers of the worst kind, they're all Zios, mind you. They are the reason why we have slave wage in this country, why they prey on the desperate and the people that are willing to come here to work for pennies on the dollar. I don't hear you saying shit about that. And you know I'm a hardliner on immigration. And I'm like,
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I'm a hardliner on immigration. Should we hang them up on their fucking toenails?
No, it means I believe in tight border security, even if you don't. So my point is,
you mean your imaginary line, your little imaginary line?
I don't care. I believe in countries. I believe in cultures. I believe in respecting cultures.
Culture has nothing to do with the imaginary line.
You can call it whatever you want. I'm just telling you that at the end of the day, Colin, please pull up the article. There is a distinct problem here when it comes to this issue, where people are just pretending that there isn't a correlation here with the powers that be and why we have this run amok operation out in the streets. Meanwhile, you're getting screwed left and right, devaluing your currency, completely killing you with inflation. No one's talking about that. What are they talking about? They're talking about this. Because we don't actually know how to get out of our own goddamn way. That's the problem. And
you know what the border reminds me of? This is the thing. We're like Les Nessman on WKRP in Cincinnati. That's what the borders are to me. You just put your little tape on the ground and mark where your cubicle would be if you were allowed to have a cubicle. That's how stupid it is. Anyhow.
Whatever. With that said, you murder a white woman in the suburbs, it's going to bring attention. What you're not going to get too much attention on is when a black man is murdered, as he was in Los Angeles, by ICE. Loved ones gather at vigil for man killed by off-duty ICE agent in Northridge.
I want to know, and I don't know the exact background of this story in terms of when and how this man encountered the off-duty ICE agent and what actually happened in Northridge. But yeah, nobody was talking about this. How is nobody talking about this? This is, you know, what, 10 days ago already? 12 days ago.
Yeah, something like that. but we're talking about it. So
yes, we are.
Keith Porter is another victim of ICE murder. And once again, we don't really hear much about these stories because, like I said, you get the right, you kill somebody that resonates with people, and unfortunately, that's what's going to end up happening. In the case of Keith Porter, they just viewed him as expendable. And so here we are. Scroll, please. Friends, relatives, and civil rights advocates gathered at a candlelight vigil on Saturday night to remember a man killed by an off-duty ICE agent in Northridge on New Year's Eve, calling for transparency and accountability in the investigation. Keith Porter Jr.'s mother was overcome with grief during a candlelight vigil in the community where he was raised. The event marked the second memorial in a week for the 43-year-old father of two who was shot and killed by the ICE agent. According to the Department of Homeland Security, you mean the dog killers agency? The off-duty ICE agent heard gunfire near his apartment and went to investigate. DHS says the agent then encountered Porter holding a long rifle.
And I don't understand. Okay, so you're off duty, so you counter somebody holding a rifle and you just kill them.
Advocates say Porter had been firing the gun into the air as a way of observing the holiday, a practice
which a lot of people do, unfortunately, on New Year's, and it is extremely stupid thing to do, by the way. But no, because when the bullets come back down, they actually really can hurt people very much so. So it's really a stupid thing to do. But anyway,
yeah, I agree, it is. Yes, it was illegal, but at the end of the day, it's an American tradition. Well, that doesn't mean it's good. Najee Ali, the director of Project Islamic Hope. Judy Vaughn, who attended the vigil, echoed the sentiment, saying celebratory gunfire has occurred for decades. I'm 80 years old. It's happened as long as I can remember. That's one of the things that happens. People shoot guns as part of fireworks in celebration of the new year. DHS says the agent ordered Porter to put down the weapon, and when he did not comply, the off-duty officer fired his service weapon. The agency claimed Porter fired 3 rounds at the agent before he died. This is a human rights issue. I have a feeling that he did not fire anything at the officer.
I don't think so either. And it's interesting. They don't name who the officer is.
No, they don't. The vigil drew people who did not know him personally, including Vaughn, who traveled about 20 miles from Mid-City to attend the memorial instead of joining an anti-ICE protest closer to her home. We all need to recognize our shared humanity and come together. And I just want to be here to be a part of this group to say his life is valuable. His life matters, and we need to speak out in as many ways as possible. During Friday's LA Council meeting, Councilwoman Inusis Hernandez introduced Porter's mother, who described her son as a man with a wonderful soul and big heart. Yeah, I get all of that. But at the end of the day, he didn't deserve this. Correct. He didn't deserve this. And now he's dead. And this is the lawless system that we have been given, that so many people are either too proud or too afraid to admit that they were wrong about. And that's why I get on people when they're saying, oh, Trump's a fascist. Why didn't you listen to us? I don't know. Why were Biden and Harris full on supporting genocide in Gaza, among many other horrible fascistic policies that they did during their time in office? But because they're supposedly nicer people, it's acceptable. Maybe it's the system that's broken. Maybe it's the system that cannot be repaired. Maybe it's the system that needs to die.
I agree. That's why I'm an abolitionist. System needs to die. It needs to be abolished.
Well, the system, yes. But again,
well, what do you think? Who are the enforcers of the system that you're talking about? Well, how do you think you abolish the system when you don't deal with their enforcers?
Sure. I'm dealing with their enforcers right now.
How? What are we dealing with them? How are we dealing
right
with
now? ICE appears to be nothing more than a Gestapo militia for the Trump administration. This has got nothing to do with enforcing immigration laws. This is, again,
I don't understand why enforcing immigration laws requires criminal treatment in any capacity.
Maybe.
Why should that be different? Whatever. Again, I'm not going to play Les Nessman games about this. That's what it feels like to me. I feel like I'm dealing with Les Nessman and his lines. So I'm just, yeah, whatever.
Well, the system is working as it is intended. The question is, are we going to do anything about it to try to rectify it? I don't know. But there's a lot of work ahead. And that is a huge burden on all of our shoulders that we are going to be held responsible for. You know, what's that going to look like? I don't know. And what I do know is that when we look around at what's going on right now, and we look at the impact that the Zio state is having on us here at home and abroad, and by abroad, I mean in South America, in Argentina, we are seeing firsthand what happens when you don't deal properly with the Zio state. The fires in Patagonia, which eliminated thousands upon thousands upon thousands of acres of forestry. Why was it done, Jen? Why would they do that?
Why would a bunch of Zio Nazis be setting fires to land in Argentina? Well, part of it is I don't understand, because on the one hand, they're going to be given a chance to be there in the property regardless of whether or not it was set on fire. So I'm not entirely sure, other than they're simultaneously clearing land and maybe devaluing it so that it's cheaper to get the land, because again, they're welcome there anyway to get property there. So that's what I'm not entirely sure why that's a benefit. But yes, the Zio Nazis are burning down land, burning down forest land, starting forest fires in Argentina. And this is not the first time that this has happened. They've done this in the past. Apparently, they did the same thing in Chile years back. So, okay, so it says to lower the price. So I get, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But it's so off the wall that we're talking about this, that they're setting fire in Argentina, like it's
to a wildlife reserve, no less. So here is a more recent clip of the aftermath of what has been happening.
Que nos prendan fuego a la Patagonia. Sabemos que es a propósito, lo tenemos recontra en claro, que hay poderes que están del lado, tienen un interés inmobiliario.
See that?
Yeah, they have real estate interest. It's just, I guess it's strange to me that the land has more value when it's burnt.
Well, it's not a question of it having more
that
value.
it's cheaper. I get that. I guess I don't know. I guess I'm not understanding how the land values work with what they're trying to accomplish, because it seems to me that they could clear the land either way to do what they want to do. So I'm not completely understanding that.
Or maybe from their perspective, it's cheaper to just burn it down and then build up from there. Either way, this was not an accident. Somebody caught a handful of these fuckers on camera doing what they were doing, and it turns out that they were Israelis. I mean, if it were up to me, I would just hang them in the public square.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just start our own whole extrajudicial process then, and we'll just start. Let's bring back.
I think we can skip the due process part at this point.
Well, just because we live in a rogue nation and they don't follow laws, and we have no adherence to international laws, nobody follows laws. But I'm going to go with the concept of due process as what's just. And so it isn't a matter of it's the law. It's a matter of I'm going to stick with what's just, even though these people do not do so.
Kind of like the fires in Lahaina.
Yeah.
I am always suspicious of all of this. All of it now.
What do you mean just in Hawaii? What about the ones in California?
Yeah, that's what I said. I said Palisades. I said Lahaina. I said both.
Oh, I just heard Lahaina. Yeah.
And that much fire. And first of all, you have to have somewhat of a stand down order in order for that type of fire to spread like that for that long and destroy that much land. So when everyone is up in arms about Maduro and no one says a damn word about Milei, when we all know that he's the truly corrupt son of a... I mean, listen, I'm not here to celebrate Maduro, But the idea that you think Maduro's a bad guy, but somehow Milei isn't? I mean, what world are you living in? It couldn't be more obvious.
Inmobiliario, tienen interés minero y es algo que ya últimamente lo hacen en nuestra cara y ni siquiera lo disimulan. No tienen nada, o sea, no lo disimulan porque tienen todo de su lado.
Colin,
So
can I have
this
the
is
article?
this is the strategy. That's just great.
Colin, can I have the article? May I have the article, please? So I do believe that they are going to relocate to Argentina, among other places. But who's to say that they're not going to do similar actions in Cyprus, similar actions? Well, they're getting kicked out of Thailand. They're getting kicked out of Japan. They're getting kicked out of a lot of places. But Argentina seems to be a place that they are ready to plant their flag. And this is going to be an interesting read because it's from the Jerusalem Post. Retired Argentinian general claims Israelis caused Patagonia wildfires in anti-Semitic conspiracy. Argentine Army's former deputy chief, alongside several key figures from the opposition, share a false accusation that said 2 Israelis used an IDF grenade to cause a wildfire. Yeah, they were just caught on camera doing it, but, you know, that's antiseptic. Argentine retired military general Cesar Milani, alongside several key figures from the opposition, shared an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory on Sunday, claiming 2 Israelis used an IDF grenade to cause a wildfire in the Patagonia region of southern Argentina. In a post on the wildfires, Milani placed the blame on a foreign state, pointed out that by the locals themselves as responsible, alongside a picture of Argentine President Javier Milei waving an Israeli flag. Again, I don't see any lies.
No.
Waldo Wolf, what a name, one of Argentina's Jewish community reference and deputy in the city of Buenos Aires legislature, called Milani a coward, claiming that he was trying to hide his anti-Semitism by not explicitly mentioning Israel.
Okay, so they went and found the like key Zio Jew to get the quote from, of course. Well, again, this is the Jerusalem Post. Like this is swill.
Well, yes, but that's what we want to see. We want to hear what the swill have to say. Opposition lawmaker Luis Dialia, who is also accused of being the link between Iran and the Argentine administration that gave impunity to the Iranian politicians accused of the bombing of the AMIA in 1994, posted, "The Israelis are going around burning Patagonia. Listen to this kid." Yeah, they are. Scroll up for a second, Colin. I want people to see this. I mean, the rage that I feel for these people already cannot be expressed in definitive words because it's beyond that.
Yeah.
But imagine somebody coming into your country and burning your land.
And a place where they're invited with open arms, no less.
Of course they are. But therein lies the rub, which is, why are they doing this?
Well, that's what I mean. And in the chat, I think David Hunter's talking about there's the laws in Argentina regarding land that can be developed, and what the ban on developing burnt property apparently was lifted. And so there's probably, I mean, yes, it all comes down to an economic developmental reason. This is a real estate deal. And that's at the end of the day what we're looking at.
Keep going.
And they're evil. These are evil fucking people. The false rumors. Let me say this, though, seriously, with all Hasbara, which is the Jerusalem Post is total Hasbara. Like, if it's so ridiculous and it's so far-fetched and such a conspiracy theory, then why would you even feel the need to write an article about it? Why do they feel like, why did Netanyahu feel the need to be the first one to comment after Charlie Kirk was murdered, or after, you know, anything happened? Like, why? Because you're guilty.
As sin. The false rumors about an Israeli involvement in the wildfires that are hitting the Patagonia region started on Saturday, when radio host Marcela Fudel stated during a live coverage that there were reports of 2 Israelis causing the fires. She later went back on her statement, said that she didn't aim to discriminate against anybody. Why? Because she got threatened. Somebody threatened her for saying the truth.
Exactly.
And apologized for using a mistaken source. She even shared a post by Meretz Argentina and sociologist Kevin Arai Levin that explained why it's important to combat these dangerous theories. Yes, very dangerous. Some of the theories shared online claim that an M26 grenade produced by Israel was found in Patagonia in the context of the fires in the province of Chubut. Argentine fact-checking group Choquedo addressed the false claim, stating that the grenade was actually a model FMK2 produced by Fabricones Militares.
See, I think it's chequeado. I don't know.
Chequeado. Well, that's what I said.
I don't know.
As confirmed by the provincial government, the wildfires that advanced across Chubut have already affected 3,500 hectares, 35 square kilometers, with reports that rain in the area is helping efforts to extinguish the fires. Well, thank God for that. Chequeado. President Milei slammed the journalist, saying she is part of the dark side of Argentina. I don't think it was a coincidence. They used Israel and the Jews to attack the government, and it got completely out of hand. Let me explain something to you guys. Do you really think that anyone would put out a story as an independent journalist just to peg it on Jews? Or was it probably confirmed beyond any doubt that they were able to identify a person that they saw starting a fire? They found out who he was, where he was from, and they deduced it down to, okay, this is a Zionazi in our country starting a forest fire. Why are they starting it? Well, the Zio scum that are in places like Israel and even potentially here in the States, they're not welcomed anymore. They're not welcomed, and they're going to get pushed out. How do we know that? Well, let's finish this, and we'll share with it before we bring it up.
I just say, if you want to be like discreet, maybe take off the yarmulke. Maybe don't wear a little hat, and then nobody will know exactly who you are.
Well, President Milei is required to wear that hat at all times, Jen. Even if he's not.
I'm talking about the people that started the fire, and not just that, but it's interesting. So you're out there violating humanity by your mere existence and what you're doing, but you're wearing your little hat to symbolize your belief in a higher power. It's really kind. You can't make up that irony.
Colin, you are not where you need to be. Keep going. Mauro Bernstein, president of the Delegación de Asociaciones Israelitas Argentinas, or the DAIA, told Clarin, pointing without evidence to 2 Israelis as responsible for the fires is irresponsible and dangerous. It generates stigmas, reinforces an so now it's anti-Jewish, not anti-Israel, narrative and hatred. The media have an enormous responsibility. A lie is not an opinion. From the DAIA, we will not allow it. So are you conducting a thorough investigation into who started the fire? Are you going to discover who actually did start these and figure out that Israel probably is behind it? No, they're not going to do such a thing.
This is such Hasbara. Do we need to finish this? I think our guest is here.
Yeah, scroll down for a second. Argentina delays Jerusalem embassy inauguration over oil project near Falkland Islands. So remember, guys, Argentina, like the plans that Machado has in Venezuela, they intend to move their embassies to Jerusalem. But please, nothing to see here. Everything's above board. And don't suspect that Israel had anything to do with the burning of thousands upon thousands of acres of forestry
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, nothing to see here. With that being said, we have watched constantly for many years. And little did we maybe know at the time the level of propaganda that was thrown at us at all times. A prime example of that was when I was a kid. I used to like the film The Delta Force with Chuck Norris, but today I realize that the Delta Force is one of the most insanely propaganda-laden Hasbro type movies that's ever been made. I mean ever. If you've never seen it, you would understand that movie is pure anti-Palestine, pro-Israel propaganda, the worst kind. And then you think about other things that have happened over the years, in particular the story about the USS Liberty and what that represents, what it represented then to what it represents today, why it happened, why they are still trying to pretend that it didn't happen or it didn't happen the way they said it happened. And what do we do today to continue bringing it to light so more and more people understand about the only maritime attack in the history of the United States that was not met at all with reciprocation? None. So with that being said, we are pleased to welcome our second USS Liberty survivor to our channel, Moe Shafer. Welcome to Revolutionary Change.
Thank you, Peter and Jen. I welcome the opportunity to be here with you all. And again, thanks for the time. I will take your lead and take it from you. Where would you like to go?
We're very pleased that you're here. It's an honor. And, you know, I'm sure you know that we had Phil on here a while back. And it's the whole concept to me, and we talked about this with him as well, that you had to endure what you had to endure. And then on top of that, had to live with being gaslit about it, denied its justice and all these things. That's infuriating to me. Like, this is where I feel rage, and it didn't happen to me. So I can't even imagine. So I appreciate you being here and sharing your story with us.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of words to put with this: rage and, you know, shock and surprise and disappointment. You know, just the carnage. Just so many things that you can put to this. But to your viewers, again, it's an honor to be with you. My name is Moe Shafer. I am a survivor of the USS Liberty. The USS Liberty was attacked in 1967 on June the 8th during the 6-day war, which a lot of you may not know what that means. At 20 years old, I certainly didn't know what that meant, except it lasted 6 days. I think we came in the second or third day after the Air Force of Egypt had been wiped out and all that. And the USS Liberty was a spy ship. And yeah, I can say that now. We called ourselves spooks. Phil Turney, my shipmate, was a ship's service person who actually ran the ship, took care of all the mechanics on the ship and all the things to run the ship. I had my little coded door down below that I could go in and go to do all my top secret crypto work, to throw a little humor in behind those coded doors so Phil couldn't come down there. We had a pool table, we had a swimming pool, we had a bowling alley. I'm kidding, we didn't have any of that stuff, but the other guys on the ship, they hated us because we had these spaces that nobody could go into, and they didn't know what we did. And so it was quite an interesting situation. And there were a few of those ships at that time on the high seas, just 5, that were out there to intercept. And real quickly for your audience too, in January 68, the USS Pueblo was captured by North Korea, which 81 crewmen were tortured for 10 months. 1 died. But that was quite another story with our Naval Security Group and NSA group, because I worked for NSA. But I was assigned to the ship, and we worked the west coast of Africa. We were snooping around everything going on anywhere in the world, really. We could intercept from about anywhere you want to be. And we were called out one night off Liberty, and the captain says, "We're taking off right now. Everybody get their stuff ready, and we're leaving. We can't tell you where we're going. We cannot, you can't contact your families. You can't do anything until we tell you, but we're going potentially into harm's way." Now, for us who were the spies and so forth, we didn't know anything that night, but of course the next day in our spaces, we were told where we were headed. But I still didn't know why. I didn't know what the reasons for all that were. But we take a few days, go to Rota, Spain, pick up some civilians there, three Marines and a couple of civilians there that were linguists, because this war was going on. So we copied code, we did telemetry, we copied the languages, and so therefore we had to make sure we were prepared for anything going on in that area where we were headed. And so on June the 8th was any other day in our lives. We were running our ship, doing our things, and doing our work. And we knew that we were potentially in harm's way because we were sitting off the coast of Egypt, about 13 miles in international waters, and we saw bombs going off and smoke and all those things. So we knew there was a war going on there, and you wonder why you're there. But my shipmate and I were up in this Trescom basket. It was a big moon crater basket we had on the back of the ship. If you saw a picture of the ship, you would see that. That was used to what do you call it? Transmit messages through the moon, through beaming off the moon. Every month in the full moon time, we would communicate with NSA with all of the stuff that we had captured, and all the deciphered stuff that had to be deciphered would be sent to NSA. And so my buddy and I were up cleaning that morning. It was a very sophisticated piece of equipment, very top secret. So it had to be done with hand gloves and all that type of thing. But it kind of put us closer to everything going on because these boxcar airplanes came out, and they started taking pictures of us. No big deal. Guess what? They had the Star of David on the side of their ship. So I felt pretty comfortable. I felt okay. They were waving at us. They were whatever. What they were doing with those cameras was photographing every piece of the ship. They came out 5 times that morning. And now, knowing the consequences of that day, they were going back to the war room with Mushy Diane or whatever, and plotting out their targets. In other words, they were plotting out the targets that they had to hit. So if you had the mast of the ship going up and elbows coming out or arms coming out with little antennas sitting on all those mast posts out there, they not only hit the mast where they took out all the wiring on the mast, they hit every single antenna. They knew exactly every piece of equipment on that ship to shut us down instantly. Okay? Because at 2:00 that afternoon is when those jets came, in a beautiful, gorgeous day. We had done a general quarters drill. We had practice. We had done everything. So I'm getting ready to go back up in that basket with my buddy Jimmy, and we were up there. He's down in the shower, and then I'm up on the back of the fantail of the ship, and all of a sudden this bomb comes out of the sky that looking directly at the sun and strikes our mailman, this missile, and then the explosions, and you say, what the hell? And then all of a sudden, whoosh, going over your head is another jet going over your head, and that jet came across the bow of the ship to wipe out what's called anti-personnel weapons. There were 9 or 10 people standing up there on the bridge. So they wiped all them out just instantly. And then they came back for 2 other strafes. But in those strafes, they went from armored piercing to anti-personnel weapons to, anti-personnel weapons. Then they went to armored piercing. so that the missiles they were shooting would break the metal on the side of the ship, and then the shrapnel would kill all the people inside of those rooms. If you ran out of harm's way, you ran into a room of shelter, then you get hit with shrapnel from the 3-inch cannon coming through. The shrapnel is what ripped people to pieces. And so we had that. In that same time of those jets hitting our ship, they napalmed us. You know, that's a jelly gas. You've seen Apocalypse Now, where you see all that jelly gas going. That's what they did when they're burning that ship. Once that first jet came, what am I supposed to do? Phil is supposed to go around and close down all the ship. He's supposed to go around, make sure everything's secure, check everybody out, do everything on the top side of that ship. My job was to go down to my spaces down below into my coded door room and do my job. Well, under attack, what am I supposed to be doing my job? But I went to the post that I'm commanded to go to in case of a crisis. And so that's where I went. And then we could hear the piercing coming through the metal and things, but we didn't know what was going on. I didn't see that napalm. I didn't see all those things going on. Phil watched all of that. Okay. It's what makes our story so compelling, because you're talking to a guy that lived in this world and a guy that lived in this world, and we were on the same little box. Right. Okay. And there were 294 total of us living in that box. And all 294 experienced something different that day, depending on where they were, okay? With only one intent, was for us to try to live, because somebody was trying to kill us and we had no way to fight back, okay? But that's why you get my story, Phil's story, why your listeners will understand more, that no human and no crew members ever doubted the intent of Israel was to maliciously attack us and have us disappear. Remember, they wiped out every antenna, they wiped out everything in the first strafe of that jet. We were dead. We had one guy, Terry Harbardier, who went out in a coaxial wire, hooked that wire up and got one message out. Under attack, believed to be Arabs. One message came back: help is on the way. Now, for a little later in the story, you'll hear help is on the way. Okay, so that would make you feel pretty good if you got somebody coming to help you. So anyway, and stop me anytime if you have a question through this. But as the attack is going on, I'm going to say then everything stopped. The ship went completely silent. Nothing. We're not communicating. We're not having any news from anybody. The captain is saying nothing. I don't know how bad he's been injured. He's been shot and wounded critically, and never gave up his helm to the ship. And but anyway, that 20-minute lull, all of a sudden, you hear on the speaker, the captain comes over the loudspeaker and says, "Prepare for torpedo attack." Now, I'm down there with my friend Jimmy. We're up in that basket. He'd come out of the shower. He didn't have his shoes on because that's general quarters. So he was basically almost in his underwear, and because he had to run down to his battle station. So he had no shoes on or anything. But anyway, the captain says that, and I heard in your early conversation some foul language. So I'm going to say, I just looked at my friend Jimmy and I says, "So how the fuck do we prepare for a torpedo attack?" Nobody ever taught me that in boot camp, or taught me that in any studying in the Navy or whatever. So what's ironic is I saw a table over beside us there where we were standing, and I said, "Jimmy, why don't we go over there and lay down and wrap our arms around that table leg and put our heads down and see what happens?" And the next thing you know, this torpedo hit. There were about 45 of us in that space. And that torpedo hit, and I remember falling, but I wasn't falling. I was blown to the ceiling and the pipes. If you can imagine the impact of a torpedo that blows a hole 39 feet wide and 24 feet high in the side of the ship, it lifted the ship out of the water. So how fast do you think myself or any other was flying to the ceiling? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or moving, or what was going on, or where the person 3 decks away from me might have been blowing to, just because they were somewhere else. And I'm right there within 20 feet, 30 feet of this torpedo coming in. What saved us is divine intervention saved us. And that torpedo, when it pierced, it's supposed to pierce, implode, and then explode and blow the ship in half, and the ship sinks. Okay? And that was their targeted position to do that, where they put the torpedo. But anyway, there was an I-beam going down the side of the ship, and the torpedo tip struck the I-beam and caused it to explode on impact. So that hole's huge, okay, 34 feet wide, or 39 feet wide and 24 feet high, but it still saved over 200 lives, because it only killed 25 of us in that room. Because again, had it come in and split, the whole ship would have sunk, and their mission would have been accomplished. USS Liberty disappears in the Bermuda Triangle. Whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's gone. It's gone. And who blew it away? Of course, the Arabs did it. Who else would do it? And so anyway, that's what happened right at that point. And then, do you have any questions, or do you want me to?
I'm like fascinated. Like I'm fascinated. Like, and I have been on aircraft carrier before, and so I have like a very good visual. Yeah, I was on the USS Saratoga a long ways back, which is why when you were saying that there was a swimming pool and bowling and all this stuff, and I'm thinking, not on one I've been on, there wasn't any of that stuff there.
You have a better chance on an aircraft carrier. There's a little more room, but anyway, so after the torpedo hit in my life, I'm unconscious apparently, but everything is split second. Everything feels like 3 minutes, but it's microscopic seconds. All this stuff's happening in. And so when I woke up or whatever, we were completely covered in water. The water was about 1.5 feet from the ceiling, full of black oil, black smoke, everything. And I was in the process, like anybody else, I'm alive, but I'm probably drowning. I mean, I don't know where to go. I can't see. I don't know what to do. And I reach up and I grab a shirt, and it's my buddy Jimmy. And I grab him. And so I'll try to explain. The torpedo hits the starboard side of the ship, comes in. There's a room. There's a little tiny metal wall, little 1/4 inch thick partition, so to speak, with a door going into that space. Then there's a ladder standing there going up for it to come out of the 3 spaces, one at the bottom of the ladder, one to the right of the ladder, one to the left of the ladder. And I'm in the one left of the ladder. But anyway, going back in there later, that wall's gone. The wall on the other side of the ladder's gone, and holes are blown out the other side of the ship from where the torpedo entered. So there was one ladder. And how did God's hand had to hold that ladder there in place for 20 of us to get out. Okay. And we got out through a little hatch hole there and got out and survived. When you come out of the hole, the place is full of smoke. It's burning up. I remember the guy that helped get us out of the hole, Buddha. He was there. Wouldn't leave that hatch until, as a matter of fact, the hatch had to be closed, and Then there was somebody else, I believe it was one of the Marines, opened it back up to go down and try to find a couple of his buddies. And of course, they were never to be found, but he came out. But then we come out and it's so black and so smoky and gassy and whatever. And some jerk, Porky, I remember Porky, yells, "A chemical attack." And now all of a sudden we've lived out of this hole. Then he's yelled chemical attacks. Now we think we're all going to die from mustard gas or whatever. We don't have any idea, but it's the panic of the moment. So I'm just kind of run through what went through my mind. And we got up topside, and then you say, wow, I'm up, get in the air. And you walk out and you see your ship burning. You see it in flames. You see a helicopter coming over, hanging over the bridge of the ship. And they threw a bag out with an orange in the bag with a message in it. Do you have casualties? Are you kidding me? Do you have casualties? The gun mounts are filled with blood where the guys are going up. We had 4 50 caliber machine guns on our ship that were rusted, closed, but didn't work. And but guys tried to use those guns. They tried to fire those guns to defend us and lost their lives doing that. But then the rest of that day becomes you're there either trying to survive yourself or save somebody else. And we turned our mess decks where we ate into to hospital beds and watched people in that area suffer. A couple die. Our commanding officer, no, our not executive officer, our second in command of the ship, was laying on the table, and he yelled to one of his cronies, and he says, "Hey, go upstairs and get me some bourbon or whatever," and to his room. So the guy goes up there to get his bourbon. Then he says, "Leave me alone," and he's bleeding and he's in bad shape. He says, "Leave me alone. Take care of the other shipmates." And he bled out right there and died in the next minute or so. But he wasn't even going to let anybody touch him as long as he knew somebody else he felt was in worse shape and needed help. And, we had people, I helped a guy that night. This sounds awful, but I had to put a straw, and I had to suck out of his throat with a straw to keep him going.
Yeah.
Pardon? Yeah, and he'd gotten hit in the head with 220 millimeters or whatever, and they pierced through him, and he lived. And he never was ever well enough to talk straight or anything like that. But I found out years later that he'd lived. And but the second somebody tells me that you go do something else, you don't know what all you're doing, and I didn't even know I was hurt. I had no idea that I'd been injured with my head and my leg injury, but which were nothing compared to what so many other people suffered. As I said, out of that 294 people, 34 died, 174 were wounded, and I was one of the fortunate ones that my wounds were enough to take me off the ship and the next day, but I never had time to think about that. But after this part, story even gets much more interesting. I don't know how much time I'm taking here.
Just ask you this. I just want to ask you, what's the time frame that we're looking at here from when the first strike to when you kind of everybody has their bearings and you set up in the mess areas where you're doing, like, how much time is that?
Less than 2 hours. Okay, so the attack, they say, carried on for 2 hours. Well, there was the attack, there was the lull, 20 minutes. There were the torpedo boats. There were, matter of fact, 3 torpedo boats. They fired a lot of bullets at us. There were 821 holes knocked in the ship. And but anyway, they fired, I think, 4 or 5 torpedoes. How in God's world the other 4 missed, I don't know. But the one hit in the worst place to split the ship in half, but in the best place to hit an I-beam and we didn't sink. And it's kind of ironic. And that's why I say divine intervention stepped in at that point for us. But, then during that time afterwards, I may be getting a little ahead of myself, but the captain calls abandoned ship, or not needing to say abandoned ship, prepare to abandon ship. And because we were listing so bad from the torpedo, and Israel shot our life rafts out of the water. If you've made an accidental attack, mistaken identity, it's what they say it is. If you've made mistaken identity and you think I'm a little Irish something boat sitting over there, it's a third of my size or whatever, the first thing you're not going to do is drop a bag with an orange in it to say, do you have casualties? Okay. And you're not going to shoot their life rafts out of the water. If you didn't sink it, the first torpedo, you're not going to leave till you've sunk it completely. The thing of it is that they knew within a few minutes, because it took 20 minutes from the Saratoga aircraft carrier you were talking about, Jen, and from the America aircraft carrier, planes were loaded because we got one message out. I'm going to go back to the thing I said earlier. Help is on the way.
Right.
Okay. So now that message got out. Help is on the way. So they loaded the Saratoga up with 4 jets with conventional weapons. Conventional weapons are intended to come and help us out at our site of our attack. Whoever's attacking us, we still don't know who's attacking us. Okay. And help us out there. And you don't leave anybody behind in the military. You don't leave anybody behind ever or whatever. So anyway, then where was I going with this? I get a little ahead of myself. But no, excuse me a second.
No, it was the you're on the lifeboats. Like it's you're able to get out, and then they come back and do like a double tap.
Yeah. So anyway, I completely lost my train. Bear with me, your audience.
No, it happens to me all the time.
But anyway, after I'll just go back to after the attack. We all went. We are there. They didn't help coming to us. So they loaded the 4 planes off the Saratoga. Then the America aircraft carrier loaded 4 jets with nuclear warheads, and those nuclear warheads were sent off toward Cairo. Now, Admiral Martin, the commandant of the 6th Fleet, did not have the power to fire any nuclear weapons. That's the only person who can do that is Lyndon Johnson. Okay. And, but anyway, I was on his ship in the hospital because the American aircraft carrier was so full of all the injured. 5 of us went over to the Little Rock, the commandant ship of the 6th Fleet, a guided missile cruiser, in a helicopter. And that's where we stayed for 4 or 5 days. And we were there, and Admiral Martin came to our bedsides that evening. He says, guys, I did everything I could to help you. And of course, I'm a kid, man. I'm 20 years old. I don't, what all's going on. And here's this guy with all this gold all over him. And he says, I loaded up these 4 planes from the Saratoga to come and help you. And, but I had to call him back. And he says, I had the 4 planes loaded up going to Cairo. He says, we potentially came within 9 minutes of nuking Cairo, Egypt. In other words, the potential that could have happened. We were that close to a potential nuclear holocaust on June 8th, 1967. Think that how that might have changed the landscape of our world today. We're here talking about the Middle East and all the things going on over there. If I recall, I think Russia was prepared to strike Israel at the same time. So June 8th, 1967 was a big day in history that we now have enough confidence to feel that Lyndon Johnson and McNamara were involved in that attack. I have not heard the tape, so I have been questioned on this, but we understand that Lyndon Johnson said, "Let the son of a bitches die. I will not jeopardize my relationship with Israel." But I have not heard that tape, so I shouldn't be quoted. I'm just going from what I've been instructed and told from other survivors. But go ahead.
What I was going to say is I only go based on actions, and the actions of whether it is the state of Israel or I guess what you would call those that are part of Hasbara, those that are pro-Israel supporters, commentators, influencers, if you will, in this country. Whenever the topic of the USS Liberty is brought up, it's either it's a lie or it's a misunderstanding or it's both. There is never an admission that this was an attack that could have been deliberate. They won't even address that. And the way that it's been whitewashed for the past almost 60 years, I would imagine really sticks in your craw pretty thick. I can't imagine going through that and then for the next 6 decades trying to get anybody on Capitol Hill to do something about this, but knowing full well what you knew then to what you know now, and understanding just how much there is this intertwined, unholy alliance between the powers that be in this country and this asinine, genocidal state in West Asia. See, I didn't say Middle Eastern.
Thank you.
It has to, I mean, I didn't live it. And in my mind, I live it like a soldier thinking, I put my life on the line for you sons of bitches, and this is how you repay me. That would be something where I don't know how I would be able to control myself. And the least we can do with our channel and with anyone that we collaborate with is to not let this story die until justice is done. What does justice look like in your mind?
Well, justice to me has always been is to have people who are interested and want to hear our story. And we've been telling our story to a dead room, a dead curtain for the last 57 years of these 59 years. We've been talking to, a quick example, my good friend, rest in peace, Johnny Isaacson, former U.S. Senator from the state of Georgia. We belong to the same country club. I used to drink with him on Friday evenings if he was there or whatever. And so he was my friend, and he knew my story. I gave him a couple books. I had the author's autograph it for him. He said he read them. And he says, but I can't really help you because I'm in charge of the Israeli lobby. Okay. I says, I'm not asking you to do anything about that then. I'm asking you to help Moe Shafer personally. I can't get my benefits. I'd like to get my benefits from my injuries and so forth, which took me 56 years to get. I just got them 2 years ago. Okay. And no back pay. And so, but he told me that he would try to help me with his office and so forth, but he never did anything. All he had to do was call his cronies and say, you make sure Moe Shafer is taken care of next week or whatever, because he knew the story. He knew exactly what happened and did all that, but he didn't. And, you know, he died as my friend, but I still never forgave him for not caring, because he didn't believe it or he didn't accept it. He may have believed it, but and I have to say this too, because everybody has different beliefs of how we're taken as anti-Semitic, or I'm here talking about this because I hate Israel. I have so many Jewish friends; it's unbelievable, and I mean close friends, and I look at it on June the 8th of 1967. people were mowing their lawns or going to their swimming pool or doing their stuff, going to the lake, doing whatever, doing their thing. And the Israeli Defense Forces were doing their thing along in cahoots with the United States. And they decided to put us as a false flag in harm's way and put us there so that we could better our position, they and us together in the Middle East, and take over the whole thing. And that's what Lyndon Johnson's goal was to do. So we were pigeons. We were put there, and I believe even to the exact location we were sitting, we were put there because we have a message we were asked to leave by the Pentagon, and the message by mistake went to the Philippines, and we never got it. Do you believe that shit? I don't believe that shit.
No.
But
Mo, I believe this in my heart and in my head, and I always will. You were not supposed to survive that day.
No.
correct. That's exactly right.
And this was, remember, this was less than 2 years after the Gulf of Tonkin incident. So the intention was to create the same thing in the Mediterranean, was to basically start the regional war that Netanyahu Milikowski, as we call him, is attempting to do right now. We see what's going on with Iran. Again, when you live this long and you are this aware, you work for the NSA, you know, you see this stuff coming 1,000 times faster than anybody else does. You're like, oh, I know what they're doing. I see what you're trying to do here. And to me, your story, if there's anybody out there, I mean, I could think of a lot of people that have had their platforms that they've used to try to suppress this message, but I come back to the recent events at the Turning Point USA event in Arizona, where this young man named Nicky Budd, and he is actually going to be a guest with me on my solo show, I believe, in a week or two.
Good.
And he decided, again, this is somebody who, I mean, frankly, you could be his great grandfather. He's so young. I think he's maybe 20 years old. And he stood up there and he did this to who I believe is the absolute worst of the worst when it comes to the liaisons of the state of Israel. And that, of course, is, well, you know, Jen, Ben, Lil Ben Shapiro, as we like to call him.
That's one.
Cited during your speech truth as the most important tenet of American conservatism. Why, therefore, did you call irrelevant the Israeli attack in 1967 on the USS Liberty, which left dozens of American servicemen dead and hundreds wounded?
Let me just say right off the bat before we listen to him speak, that freaking smirk that he has on his face, I'd like for him to smirk in your presence and see what happens. Yeah. You may be an older gentleman, but I bet you could still knock his head off if you had to.
Yeah.
And
Peter, I could take Ben Shapiro. Okay?
That's true too. Fair enough. Fair enough.
So what I actually said is that if we're looking at modern Israeli-American relations, looking at an attack that happened mistakenly by multiple Navy reports, multiple Israeli reports, and all available evidence, and using that attack in order to undermine today's relations between Israel and America, that's irrelevant. As irrelevant as it would be to cite a piece of evidence from World War II or from 1776 to define America's relations with, for example, Great Britain or Germany today. That does not mean that the attack wasn't horrible for the Americans involved, that it wasn't bloody and terrible. The Israeli government paid reparations to the people who were killed. If you look at—
They did? They did? Mo, did you know of people getting reparations?
That's why I'm so successful today. I got $500 from the U.S. government.
That's what they gave you, really?
Yep.
That's what it was?
And made me sign a disclosure that I would never file any suits or whatever.
Right.
And
they made you sign a non-disclosure for $500.
Yeah.
Unreal.
My buddy Jimmy refused the 500, and they sent him $27,000.
Wow. Well, I guess they assumed that would keep him quiet.
I guess.
Actual military record of what happened on the USS Liberty. It was clearly a mistaken and tragic attack. The people who frequently cite the USS Liberty, however, are not talking about the specifics of the USS Liberty. I suspect that the vast majority of people who bring this up are doing so in order to suggest that Israel deliberately attacked an American ship because Israel deliberately wants to harm America. It is connected generally with a larger point. I wonder if that's your point.
If the truth matters, then the Israeli government must be held accountable for that attack. The American flag was flying on that ship. You do not mistake an American ship for a foreign one when our flag is flying.
So, we can spend the rest of the time talking about the specifics of the U.S. Liberty attack, or you can actually go look at the naval investigations that were done, multiple naval investigations that were done. The reality is that people were flying Mirage planes for the Israeli military at the time. The USS Liberty was sailing in an area where it had essentially gone off-grid. The Israeli military mistook it for an Egyptian ship. They thought it was shelling Al Arish, which happened not to be true. In the initial attack, the American flag was knocked down, and then the attack went on for about 90 minutes. And then, as soon, you can hear this, by the way, on the tapes of the Israeli pilots talking to each other, as soon as they realize that it's an American ship, they call off the attack, they speed a ship to try and help the USS Liberty. There have been
Mo, do you recall the ship coming to help you?
Nobody came to help us. We did, he went on with this 90-minute thing. I told you we had a strafing of the jets, which was 20 or 30 minutes. And then we had a 20-minute lull. Then we had the torpedo attack. And then the rest was us trying to survive afterwards. And we waited 19 hours for help to come and help us from the U.S. government. We waited 19 hours, not help us on the way. But this makes me want to throw up. It's as bad as anything I've heard. I commend this young man. What I'd like to really say here is that the upside to all this, and there is an upside to it. This young man had the balls to get up there and face that crowd and face his peers, his fellow students, his whatever. And because they want, I don't even care what their political agenda is, because I have one of my own, and I'm happy with it right now. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But anyway, they have their own agendas and so forth, but they just want to know the truth. They want to know what's going on or what happened, and all these causes that brings all this on. And one of the things that I say very clearly, in my opinion, the second you're born, I don't know what you called it, Peter, but it's in the Middle East. The second you're born in the Middle East, you're taught to hate from day one you're born. I don't care if it's Israel, if it's Syria, if it's Jordan, if it's Iran, if it's whatever. You're taught to hate. And if that's the case, let them kill each other. Let them shoot each other. Let them wipe each other off the map. We don't have any business in all that stuff over there or whatever, and let them go. But I go back again. I got a lot of Jewish friends, and I don't blame it on the Jews. I blame it on the consequences of the wars and things that go on, and
it's the Zionists.
The greed of President Lyndon Johnson to conquer and whatever. So you asked me earlier who I hold responsible. I hold them both responsible, but I certainly hold the guy that's covered this up for 58 years and kept the government covering this up as the largest cover up in the history of our government. And back to what would I like out of this? I want the story to be told, but I think we deserve a real legal congressional investigation. Now, I don't think that'll ever happen, but what I believe is going to happen, and I'm going to say is our current president had the nerve to leave regular media and go get on podcasts and go get on other media and go do on other things. And that's why he won. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't care what you think. He won the election by going to the people that listen, that want to know the truth or know whatever's going on. And Phil Turney got the blessings of Candace Owens reading his letter that he sent to her.
Oh, yeah.
And got her to put us on the air. And then I've done several podcasts too. I've done a couple I'm not happy with. I did it with Stu Peters, and that was not good. And at the time, it wasn't bad for me. I didn't know what his agenda was. You know, we need to do our due diligence too and understand who we're talking to, because we want to get the message to everybody that just wants to know the truth about the USS Liberty, not the agenda of a country or a political thing or whatever. The truth about the story itself. and it needs to be uncovered. And so is that my mission? Yeah. And I tell your viewers that just Google ussliberty.org, O-R-G. Just Google that. Find out some stuff. Go on to Rumble, okay? Because for free on Rumble, you can you can search the word sacrificing liberty. Sacrificing Liberty. That's a documentary that's 4 hours and something on our story. It's told by the crew. It's there. It's free for you to watch. It's like a Netflix. It's done with the same quality of a Netflix documentary. It's very well done, but it's the crew. Again, it's that box we were on with all these 294 people in different rooms in different places, and 20 or so of them are telling their story. The whole story has the exact same ending. The exact same endings. We were deliberately attacked, meant to die that day and never be heard of again in history. And I tell people, why did I survive? I had young guys on there that were married with babies and all that stuff. And here I'm a 20-year-old single kid, but my brother was on the Saratoga, Jen, and he was killed the year before. So my mother had lost her only other son. And I believe God spared me for my mother that day, but there's a lot of suffering today that you couldn't imagine. If you watch that Sacrificing Liberty, watching some of the crewmen how blessed am I? I'm a successful businessman. I've made my life with or without the liberty. I live it every day. I'm not. Phil Turney does nothing but live the liberty. I live my life, but I volunteer to be the executive director of the Liberty Veterans Association. My wife runs the ship store. We volunteer. I make sure every newsletter. So I run all the financial management. And I'm telling you, to the podcasts that we've been on and so forth, we've been blessed with wonderful donations from your viewers and so forth. If it's $1, if it's $10, it's whatever. And we're not asking for that. It's just happening. And understand that our plight is to get to truth told, and that money is being used for those things where legal counsel is needed and other things are needed. And so if I had one message, and you may want to ask me some more questions, but one message is to all your viewers, just tell one more person about the liberty and ask them to go and see the site or watch this podcast with me on it, or watch the one with Phil Turney in it, because I say Phil is an absolute unbelievable person. He is the biggest fighter we've ever had. He's raised the most funds for us. He lives it, he breathes it, and we all do too.
And Israel comes at him hard, like really hard. And you know what that tells me?
But yeah,
should tell everybody. It means what he's doing is right.
What he's doing is right, and his presentation is getting so much better because he's just telling the story and so forth. But Phil will tell you he's got a lot of demons, as we all do, and we all pent up a lot of hate in us and so forth. So I've done everything in my power to eliminate the word hate and to survive. I'm 79 years old, and my injuries were so bad that I'm not able to play golf anymore. I've had 12 back operations, and I told you it took me 56 years to get my benefits. But it's just, and I'm just one of those 294. Phil's just another, and you need. It's almost worth if you get Phil and I ever involved again, tell the rest of the story. Tell about all the other shit you've been through since then after the attack.
Yeah.
That's what we've been through in Washington, what we've been through with everything we've tried to do, standing at the mics of all the media in Washington, me standing there reading them a war crimes complaint of shooting our life rafts out of the water, and Rumsfeld's required to respond to that, and the Secretary of Navy is supposed to respond to that. And we never heard a word, nothing, not a thing. A war crimes report is a serious thing. We paid huge dollars for the legal, makeup of that complaint. Never to be even acknowledged that they received it.
Well,
Peter, don't make me stare at this man much longer.
all right. We'll finish it out just a little bit more.
Multiple unfortunate friendly fire incidents between allied forces, including, for example, in the Gulf War, where U.S. forces were responsible for killing about 9 British troops during the Gulf War. It's an unfortunate reality of war, but you're not answering my question, which is, what is your broader agenda in asking the question? Because I suspect that your question is not limited to your specific ire over an incident that happened in 1967.
Who's talking?
I think we should question any foreign country's relationship with our government.
That's totally fine, but I'm just wondering why you
serve American interests.
Again, I'm perfectly fine with questioning any country's relationship with the United States. But again, I'm wondering what your motivation is in bringing up a 6-decade-old attack as though it is the #1 issue in assessing the relationship between Israel and the United States today.
Well, many problems persist to this day, but it's interesting that you say 6-decade-old incident when there are many people in this audience who were alive for that attack, as if this is something that's irrelevant.
Well, no, it's just not particularly relevant to assessing the relationship between the United States and Israel today.
I think it's very relevant, actually. I find it very, very, very relevant.
And just remember, Mo, and to everybody who's listening, yes, he is a walking, talking Jewish stereotype of the worst kind, but Ben Shapiro does it for money and for power and nothing else.
Yeah.
He knows the truth. No one gets to that level of prominence in politics and doesn't actually know what's going on.
That was twice.
Well, Lil Ben has always needed his comeuppance, and maybe we can give him a little satisfaction right now.
All right, Mo. So this is a little something that we do on this show. If the name is mentioned 3 times, we show this old clip of Ben Shapiro.
Oh, yeah, I'll teach you. Oh, yeah, I'll teach you.
Oh yes. If his name gets summoned 3 times, we have to play the clip of him losing to the speed bag.
Well,
there's one thing that
really made me sick watching that a few minutes ago, and that's probably the 4th or 5th time I've watched that. And I commend that young man, but that young man is one of many who've gotten up and spoken. I remember there was one asked to Trump's son and daughter-in-law, and I'm sitting there and I never heard the answer. It was on Facebook, just a quick clip or something. But I said, it might have been my wife or somebody at that time. I says, those two sitting on the stage right now at Turning Point don't even have a clue what the USS Liberty is, and they're being asked the question. But the upside is somebody in the audience asked the question about the USS Liberty. And so podcasts like yours, you're reaching viewers, and I hope it's hundreds of thousands. I hope it's whatever, but it's every person we touch tonight. I just pray that I touch some new people that truly care and don't allow these things to happen. I mean, we're all dying off right now. Our legacies, we hope it carries on in our organization.
It will.
I'll still say ussliberty.org. It's worth the search to look for it. But I hope you feel some of my personal pain. I hope you feel 294 lives, especially those 34 who died that day, that you feel their pain. Can you imagine you're sunbathing 1 minute and you go down to your station and you're torpedoed and you're instantly dead and you're 19 or 20 years old and you float out the side of the ship with the sharks and whatever, and to have 25 who rotted or 20 some to rot in there. And then for guys like myself and Ron Kukl and people, that a few of us volunteers stayed there. When I came back off the hospital, I volunteered to stay with that ship and clean out all those bodies. I cleaned out that hole for 30 days in the island of Malta in a dry dock. The last day I was there, the 30th day, I pulled Lieutenant Pierce's arm out of an air conditioning vent in that ship, still full of, and finding all kinds of body parts, fingers and hand and stuff, and all kinds of machinery and everything. It was just, you can't conceive, because I keep trying to think back, and it didn't hit me till just in the last year or two, of seeing a ship blow out of the water, how we were blown around that ship. How could my head be on, even if, of that, except it must have been the water that may have stopped it, because the water came in the ship so fast. I don't know. Just don't know. But here I am.
I want to say on behalf of Jen and myself that, much like having Phil on here, it is our honor to have you. And you're not only a hero to us, you're a hero to potentially millions of people, not just because you served our country honorably, but because you have brought the distinction between the military and the military-industrial complex as succinctly as you can possibly make it. There is I always say I love my country and I hate the people who run it. And it's been this way for far too long. We are now staring down the barrel of the worst possible war with Iran. And I know there's probably a limit, because you've obviously worked in intelligence in terms of what you can share and can't share. But I think the consensus amongst myself, Jen, the audience at large, is that ever since the creation of the Zio state in 1948, is it fair to say that pretty much every foreign conflict, war that the United States has been involved in for the past 80 years is in some way, shape, or form directly connected to the state of Israel? Am I off with even suggesting that there is this sort of unholy alliance that exists based on the interests of Israel with what our military ultimately gets involved with?
I would say, from what, Peter, what I've been exposed to, which is basically everything you're exposed to. You're in the media every day, but yet then I'm exposed to, is that I don't hear much of anything without Israel's name being mentioned, whether it's 9/11, whether it's whatever that's going on. I'm not sure how. I try not to harbor on that. I try not to talk about it, again, because I have so many friends and so many thoughts about all of that. But I'm just going to try to make myself believe that, yeah, there's a lot of involvement, but it's not my place to be the judge on all that. I'm going to judge what I experienced, and I'm going to judge in the form of contempt, of carnage, of desire to maim and kill, and also the desire of my country, which I honor its flag. I proudly represented them in the United States Navy. I would do anything for my country today to have two human beings like Johnson and McNamara to exist, and have had the brass to wear those stripes that they wore in leading our country, to dishonor it the way they did. And may somebody piss on their graves. And I'll try to leave it at that. And I'm glad you allowed me to share this. I got a little emotional tonight and a little stressed out. It's kind of hard. I sit here and try to hold my head up because of my back and my neck, but I do it with honor, and I love my shipmates. Rest in peace, you guys. I love our supporters. I don't know you all personally. I feel better getting time to spend with you, and thank you for this opportunity to help share the story of the USS Liberty.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing this story. I appreciate it very much.
Okay.
God bless, Mo. We'll be
Thank
in
you all.
touch.
Good night.
Guys, all the stuff's in the description.
Yes. I think I'd have to go back and look at some of the interviews that he's had before. But I think he really kind of let it all hang out tonight in a way that I'm not sure maybe he has before.
We have a tendency to bring that out of people. It's sort of like the Barbara Walters crying effect.
Yeah, the fact that he, at the end, basically shared some of his PTSD and how he still gets flashbacks from, basically being part of detail after the attack.
The whole friggin' thing. The fact that he just got his benefits 2 years ago. That is so unbelievably.
I didn't want to say it while he was here.
I wanted to put the rage-o-meter on when he said that, and I didn't want to interrupt him, but that's what I was thinking. Like, it took him 50-something years of chronic health stuff and didn't get benefits until 2 years ago. I don't even. That's nuts.
I also want to be clear that, as much as I understand where he's coming from, but when he spoke about Johnny Isaacson was not your friend, Mo. He was an acquaintance. And sometimes,
people like, it's hard for people to say that. Yeah.
Yes, people in positions of power, that is everything to them. Johnny Isaacson was a U.S. Senator from Georgia, and he was there for 2.5 terms. He was there from 2005 through 2019. And he was elected in 2004, and he retired in late 2019, and he passed away about 1.5 years later. So he probably stepped down because he was sick. And so in that time that you knew this person, and over the course of 15, almost 16 years that he served in the U.S. Senate from Georgia, and he couldn't get you your benefits? No, he didn't get you your benefits because his career was more important to him than doing the right thing. And not that he couldn't have gotten them for you, but you have to remember, if he had gotten you those benefits, it would have been an acknowledgement of what happened that day on the USS Liberty.
And that's why, and people in the chat are wondering, why did it take so long to get benefits? Because he's trying to get benefits of an event that, according to our government, didn't happen. Certainly not the way that they're saying it happened. And so if an event didn't happen, then you couldn't have been injured from it. And so you couldn't possibly need benefits. That's why.
And that's why when I hear somebody like Mo speaking, I think to myself, how could my life have turned out? I mean, I almost joined. Like, I was so
Stop saying that. You don't almost join.
You know
you
what? I
chose
really
not to. It just almost makes it be like it happened to you. You were thinking about joining, but you didn't.
You know what? I would really appreciate if you didn't belabor that point, because it's actually not. I'm asking you as a friend, okay? I'm asking you not to downplay.
I find it like insulting to people that serve. Like,
no, you're not. You're still missing the point here.
Okay.
I had signed the letter of intent to join the Army. I shaved my head. I did it all. I had a talk. I had a talk with my grandfather who served in World War II, who told me I would love for you to serve in this. I would love for you to serve this country, but I don't want you to serve in that desert in the Middle East. because that's where I was going. And I didn't know at the time what was happening. This was before Iraq. This was just after 9/11. And here I am as a young 18-year-old thinking, well, I'm going to go serve my country because they came and attacked us. But I can't wrap my head around what my life could have turned out like, or if it, or what would have happened if I had decided to go forward with it. And what if I had survived, and knowing what I know now, knowing what I know about this, about our country and what it's all about, how it's all a lie. It's one big lie. I had a giant American flag up in my dorm room. I mean, it was an important part of my life, but you know, you're a kid, and that's what they're counting on. They're counting on people being naive, being patriotic, and not asking questions, not asking the right questions. And then lo and behold, you're caught in the middle of it. So I do understand where he's coming from. I have no experience of that knowledge because I didn't live it, but I certainly understand the mindset of I want to serve my country. I want to help. I understand that. Am I wrong for saying that?
No. I don't think so.
Well, JD, who's been with us since the very early days of our channel, and I mean the very early days, when we had 20 people in the live stream. Peter, I served. I am not insulted. I am more embarrassed that I served. Well, don't be embarrassed that you served. You didn't serve. You were serving the American people. You weren't serving the State Department. That's not why you went.
No, I think why people might feel embarrassed is that they didn't realize sooner that they believed in the Les Nessman paradigm, and that they participated in something that they now realize is not what they thought it was. That's why. It's not that they weren't honorable in any way.
I also cannot for the life of me, every time I see Shapiro on the screen, I couldn't have thought of a better time than to have somebody who really lived it and listen to him lie deliberately the way that he did. And why does Ben lie? Ben lies for the money, for the shekels. Yes, he's a walking, talking Jewish stereotype of the worst kind. And that is why, and I almost felt like telling Mo, you don't need to explain yourself that you don't hate Jews. The Zionists are counting on you to say that because they use that as a weapon. Ben Shapiro uses it as a weapon. He doesn't care about Jewish people. He cares about his cause. And his cause has made him a rich man and a powerful man. Now, he's nowhere near as influential, as powerful as he once was, but he still holds that. And that's why he's out there touting the president, saying, oh, we totally have to go into war with Iran now. So, yeah, it is pathetic. But it is our job to not let this story die and to continue to spread the word as best we can. That's our job. And we are extremely appreciative of each and every one of you that has been with us so far this evening. We have a couple of more.
Hey, Kate, don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Bully? What was I doing? I didn't do anything.
No, I was bullying you.
Oh, she said, you bullying me?
Yes, and if I do it one more time, she's going to boycott everything we do.
Kate, calm down. If you're enjoying this conversation so far, and if you're enjoying Jen's bullying of me, we would really appreciate if you would go to patreon.com/revolutionary change. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a supporter of our small but mighty and heavily suppressed, but still growing channel. Toronto Law with the $139.99 Canadian A.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Extremely generous, and we appreciate it, my friend. Thank you very, very much. Anthony Aguilar, a pleasure, my brother.
Especially with the new picture. Love the new picture, Anthony.
Very statesmanlike.
Well, okay. It's definitely much more pensive. It's mindful. It's demure. However,
are you already setting the table, Jen? Let me tell you.
I'm just saying the last picture that he had, he looked angry. And I know he has reasons to be angry, but he just looks much more Okay, yeah. You want to play Scrabble. Peter thinks he can beat me in Scrabble.
I didn't say I think I could beat you. I said I'm going to give it my best shot. I'll try.
Okay.
I'll be studying my SAT cards again.
Good luck to you with that, buddy. Good luck to you like that.
ICE is trained by the Israeli Ministry of National Security in Israel. With our tax dollars to the DHS binational industrial R&D program, ICE is allocated $165 billion with a B from 2023 to 2027. This is real. More are coming.
Yeah, that's the big, beautiful bill. The big, beautiful bill was that.
Oh, yeah. Citizen Peñejo with the with 100 pesos, I believe that's it.
Well, yeah, but it's a dollar sign. So do they go by pesos? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
They do. I've been to Mexico. They do use pesos.
Well, the yellow indicates 10. So, or the color usually means like $10.
Right. So it is pesos then, I guess. Okay.
One of two. Jen and Peter, my blueprint, if I were bigger, tell you what you think. First, send another Gaza flotilla. Make Trump explain why is Israel abducting Greta again, being he rules Gaza. Well, that's what he's claiming.
He also rules Venezuela, but more on that.
And with the 50 pesos, transform the indignation off another Ziohel attack on the flotilla to force Trump into allowing foreign journalists into Gaza once and for all. I would say, and thank you very much for your 2 contributions, Mr. Peñejo.
Pendejo.
That's not going to change anything. It's just not. We either do away with the Zio state altogether or we don't. There are no half measures anymore. Much like there is only revolution, nothing more. Libertarian Social Democrat with a 199. Zio ICE are getting the 2A states' rights men fed up.
Good.
Yes.
Good. And between the Black Panthers that I've been seeing, being around, and that, what you're talking about, that's the revolution. That's where it's going to happen. I've seen several people at rallies yelling and calling for armed resistance at this point. The rally or the protests that were going on against ICE regarding Renee Good, I saw people starting to call for weapons.
JB with the $2. Israel is a terrorist state. The world is on notice. You're damn right they are. And JB one more time with the $2. IOF butchers kids, yet setting fires is unthinkable. Like I said, It's one big propaganda network, and that's what we're trying to pierce through. Chip Walter with the $5. Palm Beach County, I saw an Israeli flag flying from a truck bed of an F-150 and a Chabad.
Chabad.
Yeah, hawk it up while you're at it. Chabad what? Lubavitch Kids Camp 2. Will they burn the Everglades Reserve Park? You can't build on that. That's the thing. You can't build on it, so it would be no point. Do I think that they would do shit like that out of spite? Yeah, the Zios are a bunch of man babies and psycho women. The women are even crazier. You've seen it in clips, like they're even more insane. Mark J with the $5. An evolved humanity would have no military or nation boundaries. One family, we are still primitive savages. Well, we're definitely still primitive savages. I'll give you that. A lot of people still that. That's for sure. Mr. Aguilar with the $9.99. Thank you for your service and sacrifice to and for our nation. We believe you. We've seen it. Israel is the greatest threat to the U.S. at home and abroad. Agreed. Jim Talib with the $5 super sticker. Always a pleasure, my friend. Tates with the $2. What is justice? What does justice look like to you? Brilliant question. Well, thank you, Tate. I appreciate that. I think I do a decent job of questions. I try my best. Hey, we wouldn't have a podcast that draws people in if we weren't offering something of value. We're not just two pretty people on the screen, You have to offer some kind of value. As if we couldn't love her enough. Warrior of Light with the $99.99.
Thank you, Light Warrior. Are you a light worker? You look like you're a light worker.
She looks like a.
She looks like a light worker.
I can't tell if she has a hoodie on and she
No,
looks like
she does not have a
somebody's-
hoodie on. She's a light worker.
or she's a light worker and she has.
Well, I'm just saying that because she says warrior of light.
Well, thank you very much. It's very sweet of you and considerate to contribute that amount. Very much appreciated. Red Team with the $4.99. Great show. Keep it up. You know we will. Tony with the $5. Hey, Tony, what do you got for us this evening? Huh? You got anything good?
Tony, yo, Tony. Hey, Tony.
Thank you both for the work you do. Hey, listen, I think we're working pretty good. Okay, okay, man, we're doing a good job. Marvin Vargas with the $1.99. Great stream. Thank you. Mo was great. You can say that.
Thanks, Marvin.
Libertarian Social Democrat with the $4.99 this time. I still don't trust Megyn Kelly. I don't trust Megyn. Who would
Nor
trust
should you?
Awakening?
Not with those hair extensions. Hell no.
Well, it's not even about that. But anyway, she is still anti-Muslim, as she told Tucker. She is no Tucker, Candace MTG, or Massey. Correct. She isn't. Just like the Knesset is not threatening Megyn Kelly. They're threatening Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. When the Knesset is threatening you, I don't care what any of you say, bottom line. And when it's the Likud party of the Knesset that's threatening your life, that means you're doing something right as far as I can see. Would you agree?
Yes. Are you done with super chats? Was that the last one?
Oh, no. We still got more. Mackett with becoming a YouTube member. Thank you. And Mackett. Thank you for becoming Mackett. 54. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Really appreciate it.
If you 54, I'm 54. We're both 54. We're practically twins.
And last but not least, Hamburger with the $5. It's important to understand that not all Jewish people are Zionists, just like I used to think all cars were Transformers. Now I know it's just Nissans.
Hamburger coming in with a great metaphor.
Thank you all very much for your amazing super chats.
Wait, you just got a new one, I think, or no? What was that?
No. Well, we'll save it for the end. We'll save it.
Okay. Well, so I wanted to put this up because everybody's giving, both you and I get hard times for being mean. And so this is something that somebody put up that I thought is true. And it is kind of true. Because if anybody says shit about you or me, we both get like very, very like defensive.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I can talk shit to Jen. Nobody else is allowed to do that. Just like Colin. You say one bad thing about Colin, I'm going to have your ass.
Don't mess with Colin.
No. So, are we going to war with Iran?
Yes.
I don't know. Probably. Knowing how absolutely insane this government is at this point and how off the rails we have gotten. Here's what I know with absolute certainty. What we have been shown in terms of what's actually going on in Tehran, yes. And this is coming from a good friend of mine who's from Tehran. No one wants to be under a suppressive, authoritarian, radical Islamist regime like the Ayatollah. And you know what else they don't want? They don't want the West messing with their fucking business.
No. See, that's the thing that countries are universally agreed on. Like, they have their people that support their leaders. They have their oppositions, whether it's Venezuela or Iran. But yet they can all come together to agree that they don't want us involved. That's the common denominator. They don't want our involvement.
Now, very much as you have pointed out, which is why the rallying behind the likes of Saddam back in the day, Gaddafi, al-Assad, and then, of course, obviously in recent times, now we're seeing with Maduro, here is what was really going on in Tehran over the weekend.
چرا اینجا حاضر شدید؟ هدف حضورتون چی بود؟ برای دفاع از کشورم و سیدمون. پیامی دادید برای سید بزرگوارمون در حد یه جمله. با هر پوششی، با هر اعتقادی پشت تیم آقا. به نظر شما آشوبای اخیر، کشتارهایی که انجام دادن این عده مختشش باعث شده که همبستگی ملی ما کم بشه، متزلزل بشه؟ نه، چون اونا که مردم نبودن. اگه مردم
Did you hear that, guys? Now I know it's in Arabic, so you don't understand, but if you're reading it, if you're not just listening, you're watching.
متزلزل بشه؟ نه، چون
Now, there has been a suspicion from the very beginning in all of this that there are basically spooks on the ground inside Iran that are riling up the masses violently. You see, the protesting against the Ayatollah has been peaceful protesting.
Correct.
And the violence by the Ayatollah's military has only started in earnest after there were attacks, like Molotov cocktails being thrown into mosques. Is anybody going to talk about that one? That one gets ignored. No, they want you to believe that the people are rising up. The people in Tehran, they're rising up.
All right, Peter, she wasn't there. Everybody wants you to understand she's not speaking Arabic.
Oh, it's Farsi. I'm sorry.
It is Farsi because they're not Arabic in Iran. They're Persian. And
my apologies, guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
She speaks Farsi.
Yes, Ray. I know not everybody is Arabic. I'm not one of those people, but hey, if you want to call me that, have at it. So yeah, but just as she said, these are not our people. So they know. The people on the ground know. They know that these, again, you know what this is like, ladies and gentlemen? This is like January 6th. I am not here to forgive people that got violent on January 6th, but if you think for 1 second that that was not a State Department specialty to rally those, to rile those people up on January 6th, we have to go inside the Capitol. Do you know who was saying that? An FBI spook. That's who was doing it. Well, guess who's doing it on the ground in Tehran? It's the same fucking people.
Yes. Well, they're trying to agitate, to manufacture consent for us to have some sort of pretext to go into war with Iran. But what I've seen, and again, and I see people have mentioned Professor Morandi, and I'd love to talk to Professor Morandi, but the biggest problem with Professor Morandi is that he lives in Tehran. And and when you're in Tehran, that puts you about 8.5 hours ahead of us. And so we do lives. So we wouldn't have the ability to talk to him where he would also be in the waking time that we're awake. So there's that. But I did see an interview with him and there was footage and the protests, the marches in Tehran. And by the way, there were marches all over the country. It wasn't just Tehran, but that was the biggest one. You're talking more than 1 million people. And it was very peaceful.
Oh, yeah.
So anything that we see that's agitation, I will always think is U.S. Zio created, and to create that narrative.
We'll finish it up.
که مردم نبودن، اگه مردم بودن، مردم الان اینجان. چه تفاوتی با مردم معترض دارن اونا؟ اعتراض که همه داریم، ما هم جوونیم، ما هم تحت فشار قرار میگیریم. اعتراض فرق میکنه با کشتن و آتش زدن و آسیب زدن به مردم و کشور. پیامی دارید برای اون دسته از هموطنانمون که تو تله این اغتشاشگر افتادن و اخفال شدن؟ خیلی از دوستای خودم شاید حتی تو رو خدا با فکرتون تحلیل کنید، مسیر درست رو انتخاب کنید.
Okay, so yeah, Professor Morandi was on with Danny Haifong. That's what I was watching earlier. And you know, we want to agitate. That's what we do. We are the agitators. We're the terrorists of the world.
We are. And so one of the primary aspects, and one thing that young lady pointed out, which is very true, which is just use your head and think, why exactly are they doing this? Well, there's good reason for it. Because they count on the simple-minded to continue to be fooled. But as Lincoln always said, you can fool some of the people all the time. You can fool all the people some of the time. You can't fool all the people all the time. And that's what they're counting on. They're still counting on this idea that you can fool people into another endless war. And one with Iran? No, that's World War. That's World War III.
And Hala is correct. A large amount of the problems in Iran are due to our punishing sanctions, just like in Venezuela. Countries that suffer at our hands, at the hands of U.S. economic bullying, and also literal bullying, but, you know, these people are suffering because of us. And then we use that to say, oh, look, their government doesn't work. Their people are unhappy. We need to go in and fix that. And it's just wash, rinse, repeat over and over and over again. I feel like we're in Groundhog Day with this shit. And I do think that we're going to start picking at Iran again and try to justify going in there. Whether or not Israel waits for us for them to act, I don't know. But I do know that when they attack Iran this time, that Iran's not going to pull any punches.
Well,
They're just not. They're gonna level bases. They're gonna level Israel.
and what do they have in common? What does Pavali have in common with Machado, the person that seeks to take over Iran if the people have an uprising? Well, guess what they have in common? Guess what Machado and Pavali have in common? What do you think they have in common, Jen?
I think they're both Zionists.
You would be right.
عزیز ایران، هموطنان شجاعم، شما در 2 هفته گذشته به ویژه در 4 روز اخیر با تظاهرات میلیونی پایه‌های رژیم نامشروع جمهوری اسلامی
The illegitimate Islamic Republic? No. Your father was the illegitimate Shah of Iran.
Exactly.
And then the
Exactly.
Ayatollah took over.
He's just right. He's just the Conchata Marata, whatever, and Guaido and enchilada. Globalize the enchilada. But this guy is also stupid because it's sort of like Zelensky too, right? When they're done using you when you're done being their useful tool, they'll be done with you. And your own people, being that you are not in the majority, they're done with you too. So what happens to people like this isn't good.
No, definitely not for somebody like him.
He'll end up on
به لرزه درآورده اید. اینک با اتکا به پاسخ میلیونی شما به فراخوان‌های روزهای گذشته و با مشروعیت و مقبولیتی که از شما دریافت کرده‌ام، مرحله دیگری از خیزش ملی برای سرنگونی جمهوری اسلامی و بازپسگیری ایران عزیز را اعلام می‌کنم.
Okay. Why does this guy think that people are uprising on his behalf?
They're not. No, they're not. But yeah, again, we're really watching a repeat. I can't really see it that well though because of the things in the way. What does it say? Spawn Guaido. But yeah, I mean, this we're not going to see what he's talking about. Because what he's talking about is not real. He's talking about there's some bubbling Iranian uprising. No, it's the wealthy people that are not in charge now want to get back in charge because they liked it that way. Same as Venezuela, same as in Ukraine. It's the same everywhere. It's all the same.
Now, I bring this up because this guy's obviously a joke. And if there is a person who, to me, confirmed beyond any doubt that this is just one big coup attempt, leave it to the South Florida grifting supposed Iranian, but he's actually a Syrian, king of the grift himself, Patrick Bet-David.
Online that are like, well, Pat supports MEK. Let me just say this flat out. I had a call yesterday with a higher-ups about MEK. This is what I learned about MEK, to all the people that are talking about MEK. So MEK is somebody that was previously pro-Khomeini, and then they went and helped Saddam Hussein. It's like Marxism meets, jihadists, Islamists combined together. They're like I don't even know if I would say AOC meets Mamdani of what they're doing. I don't even think she's good for Iran at all. But that's a name, that's somebody that's out there. Let me tell you what I'm looking for some of the people that are wondering if I'm paid by MEK. 1 minute, so funny, I saw 2 tweets. One tweet said I'm paid by Qatar. The other tweet said I'm paid by MEK. And 6 months ago, they said I got paid by Israel. So who the hell am I getting paid by, right? I'm not, we're not taking money from anybody.
No, you're just
no, you were trying to take money from us, Pat.
Yeah.
You take money from whoever's willing to pay for your shill shit.
Yeah. I mean, you did interview Netanyahu Milikowski on your channel. And the only way you're doing something like that is if there is a financial understanding between the two parties. But, pretend like you're not the grifter that you are, where you've been caught with your hand in the cookie jar for many, many years. Patrick bought David. No, Patrick Bet, Star of David, That's his real name.
But this is the reality to the Iranian people and specifically to Reza Pahlavi. Very important for you. Very, very important to pay attention to this. I contacted Kalshi this morning. Rob, can you pull up the Kalshi numbers on who Kalshi sees as the next leader for Iran? Okay, so can you zoom in, please? Next leaders for Iran. If you go a little bit lower with the list of names and click more, they have Mojtaba Khamenei.
The idea that he is using his platform right now to I think he has like 4 or 5 million subscribers. So here's what he's basing the future of Iran on. He's basing it on gambling. He's basing it on Kalshi or one of these other gambling sites like Polymarket. Hey, would you like to bet who the next leader of Iran is going to be? I'm surprised his name's not on there. Because Lord knows if he could throw his hat into the ring, he probably would.
Is he taking bets on this? Like, is that
absolutely? Like, how bad of a grift do you have to display?
I don't mind that he's taking bets from people on who they think is going to win. I mean, people are allowed to do that. I mean, that's just doing a poll that he's getting paid to do. That doesn't bother me. If people want to send him money to play a stupid bet,
listen, all I could say is if you are stupid enough to take betting advice from Patrick Bet David, a sucker and his money are lucky to get together in the first place, as the old saying goes.
At 25%, which means it's going to be another Khamenei. Oh, God. Then they have Golson Hossein Mohseni, 23%. Then I have Hassan Khomeini, 19%. Who do you not see on there? You do not see Reza Pahlavi on there. Nope. So I contacted Kalshi and I said, we need to add Reza Pahlavi to this list. And Iranians, for those of you guys that are in America, this is what the world is looking at. Nowadays, decisions are being made by Kalshi. Okay, for you guys to go out there and sit there and say, wait a minute, how come he's not on there? By the way, Nargis is not even on this list. But Reza Pahlavi's not on this list. So the people that are betting are saying, we don't believe it's going to be him. But I do believe he has a shot. Here's the screw up. I would have gladly have said this privately, but he's forcing me to say all this stuff publicly to him.
Oh, public.
And all the Iranians, I cannot believe, Shoma Nemidun Shehat Mizani and all this other stuff. Listen, we want to see this happen, okay? We would like to see this happen. I wish he had competition. There literally is no competition in Iran that's going up against RP. I wish there was. This is why he's so soft. He needs competition. He needs somebody to poke him. He needs somebody to disrupt him. He needs his ass up. And I'm willing to play that card because there's no other candidate. Not Nargis, not any of these other guys. That would be.
So did I hear that correctly? Patrick Bet David thinks that he's worthy of running for president of Iran? One more time.
I cannot believe, Shoma Nemidun Shehat Mizani and all this other stuff. Listen, we want to see this happen, okay? We would like to see this happen. I wish he had competition. There literally is no competition in Iran that's going up against RP. I wish there was. This is why he's so soft. He needs competition. He needs somebody to poke him. He needs somebody to disrupt him. He needs somebody to wake his ass up. And I'm willing to play that card because there's no other candidate. Not
Patrick, on behalf of many Americans, please leave this country and go run for president of Iran. Please.
Don't threaten us with a good time, Patrick.
Please. Just go.
Go. Although I kind of feel bad, like I don't want to wish him on the Iranians. You know what I mean? I mean, I know he is technically one of theirs, but it's like no need to punish them further.
I would like to think that they would be able to see through his grift. Just a thought.
Well, and it's probably, look, I'm going to assume, and I know when you assume you make an ass of you and me, but that Iran is probably very similar to other countries in that this is a class divide. So when you look at people like Patrick Bet David and hear his thoughts, also, again, somebody who left Iran and is now in this country. So it's like the wealthy white Venezuelans that are living in West Venezuela.
But now that
opinions.
now they're so damn rich that they want to get their.
Well, they were rich to begin with, which was how they had the resources to leave their respective countries. And so when you hear the people that are the affluent people from countries that are having whatever upheaval or turmoil or economic issues, and you hear the wealthy people in the diaspora giving their 2 cents, you have to take it with a grain of salt, because those are not the people that are representative of the majority of people in those countries. They're just not. And it is very much a class issue. Because I promise you that the people in Iran are not all on the same page with Patrick Bet-David.
I don't know anyone who's on the same page as
right. So it's and again, and I do, I think, and I don't know this very specifically about Iran, but I do believe that there is most likely a class element involved in people's political leanings.
You would be right. So to the people of Iran, and everything that we are now hearing from our State Department and how they are pushing endless war at a rapid pace. Here's what I can tell you that I think is the silver lining of the evening, even though this has been a long evening, but we got one more story I'd like to get to that I think is important. I don't put too much stock, and neither do you, Jen, in electoral politics. We know that a lot of it is obviously overrated. But when Scott Wiener, that's his name, sorry, he's just asking for trouble, when he has to make a statement following his gaffe during the town hall, when he twiddled his thumbs literally and figuratively about whether or not there's a genocide in Gaza, well, this is what he had to say in a statement.
Did he have his handler speak for him again?
No, he actually did it himself last night.
You who saw the debate clip from last week, I want to clarify that I do believe Israel has committed genocide in Gaza, and I want to explain why I hesitated at the debate. For the past 2 years, I have harshly opposed Israel's escalations in Gaza, and I've used phrases like total destruction and catastrophic levels of death and moral stain, but I haven't used the word genocide.
Because my donors won't allow me to use that word, otherwise I'm in big.
Or is it a matter of, I mean, let's be real. There's a lot of various.
No one could possibly have a smaller wiener than Scott Wiener, who actually stands 6'7".
So people are asking who that is. Guys, this is one of the tools that is running for Nancy Pelosi's congressional seat.
Mm-hmm. One of the wealthiest districts in the United States.
Who is this wiener?
And I want to explain why. As a Jew, I am deeply aware that the word genocide was created in the wake of the Holocaust, which was the industrial extermination of 6 million Jews. For many Jews,
5.2 million, but who's
not only that, but
associating the word genocide
that doesn't mean that's when it started. There have been many genocides, but continue.
Correct.
With the Jewish state of Israel is deeply painful and frankly traumatic. But despite that pain and that trauma, we all have eyes and we see the absolute devastation and catastrophic death toll in Gaza inflicted by the Israeli government. And we all have ears and we hear the genocidal statements by certain senior members of the Israeli government. Yeah. And to me, the Israeli government has tried to destroy Gaza and to push Palestinians out, and that qualifies as genocide.
More like a wet loaf of bread, not.
Well, and I want to say on behalf of bread, and I am a big fan of good bread, as you know. The bread that I'm eating is infinitely better than anything this guy could be associated with.
And somebody in the chat asked, does Scott like wiener? Yes, he does.
We don't know what he likes.
No, he does. He likes wiener.
How do you know he likes wiener?
Well, because I just know. Because
you don't know unless it's your wiener he's liking. I don't know how you know he likes wiener.
Because it's a known thing that he likes wiener.
Oh, is he just out gay? I mean, is that what you're saying? He's gay? Oh, okay.
Come on now. What did you think I was talking about?
I have no idea what you're about. He likes wiener. I'm like, all right, well, if you say so.
Now, somebody suggested that there's a reason why he said this. And I do agree. There's one reason and one reason only that he made this statement. His internal polling against Saikat is probably so abysmal that he really didn't have a choice. He's like, well, either I say something that is correct or I'm completely screwed. Remember,
I think it looked ridiculous, though. Too little, too late. Bye-bye.
Yes, I agree.
If you're for saying that now, don't bother. Seriously, just don't bother. It wasn't worth whatever you felt like you were risking by saying it. Isn't worth it at this point because you're not winning over the people that needed to hear you say it 2 years ago. So it doesn't really matter.
Here's what I will say. Why do I think that this is relevant to the greater story that we are pushing right now, which is how do we get away from the Zio state? Well, Netanyahu Milikowski, like the fool that he is, because he is a fool, decided to sit down for an interview with The Economist in London. And this didn't go as well as he probably thought it was going to go.
Being a war criminal, that if you went to go to several countries in Europe, you're going to get arrested. This is not just mad campus radicalism. This is a feeling around the world. You said it yourself to us just now. In public opinion around the world, Israel is doing very poorly. And it's doing very poorly because people see a country that is behaving in a way that is not compatible with being a liberal democracy. And therefore, I think you have a problem. I think that loss of public opinion, what struck me from your autobiography was how subtly and for how long you have understood this. You know that political power comes from public opinion, and you know that you need to win the battle of public opinion.
First of all, he looks terrible. Like he looks terrible.
Good.
Yeah. Well, he has no soul, so naturally.
No, the problem is, and this is just me saying, is that he can't possibly feel as horrible as I'd want him to feel compared to how he looks, right? Like I wish he felt 10 times worse than he looks.
Oh, listen, if there are certain people that are destined to be drawn and quartered, this is the type of person who basically needs to be stretched and have his entire insides slashed out of his body. Like there isn't enough that could be done for one illegitimate soul removed from this planet. But
So
that's
gross.
one thing. And this is the extension of the other. This is without the.
She
background.
wasn't buying his shit though.
No.
She was not, but yet he's still sitting in a country and being interviewed in a place where if they were following international law, they'd have to arrest him.
Would be under arrest.
Because the UK is a party to that statute.
They are.
So they're actually supposed to arrest him. I don't understand how he's even allowed to be there. I mean, I get why he's here, but
Correct.
Why is he there?
See a country that is behaving in a way that is not compatible with being a liberal democracy.
Well, the liberal democracies that fought the battles from World War II to Afghanistan to Iraq and so on, the ratio of combatants to non-combatants killed was 6-1, 7-1. And in Gaza, because Hamas was forcing people to stay in urban areas at gunpoint, the ratio is about 1.5 to 1. And we lost a lot of soldiers because we didn't carpet bomb.
That's a lie. And as Edward Carr is actually pointing out right now, as Netanyahu speaks
I didn't hear
over
this part before. So yeah.
well, he spoke over him, but you'll hear Edward Carr saying that's not true. Of all the things that Netanyahu Milikowski can lie about, he lies about whether or not the IDF carpet bombed Gaza. Jen,
Again, how do you know Israelis are lying? Their lips are moving.
how many nuclear bombs, the equivalent of, have been dropped on Gaza?
My understanding is it's like somewhere between like 4 and 7. Like it's multiple, like, some ridiculous amount. The fallout, the chemicals, the poison from what they've done will hurt that land for decades. That's how much they've dropped on it.
Lying about carpet bombing. That takes a lot of
Like as
balls.
if we can't see.
Yeah.
At gunpoint, the ratio is about 1.5 to 1. And we lost a lot of soldiers because we didn't carpet bomb. We didn't do it. We didn't do.
People have different ratios as well.
I'm telling you, you don't actually, but that's not the point.
Well, you have to understand, the Israelis are the only people who tell the truth. Everyone else in the world lies but us.
point. It certainly wasn't 6-1 or 7-1, and we certainly didn't carpet bomb, which we could have done right away. We've lost a lot of.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of when Wasserman Schultz was confronted about whether or not she cheated Bernie Sanders out of the nomination in 2016. She's like, trust me, there are so many things we could have done to cheat Bernie out of the nomination if we really wanted to. Just like, he said,
they say the quiet part out loud, right? Like they no, just so brazen.
Yeah, why not? What, you know, just, oh, you could tell he's not happy.
People, these are barbarians, and they're given a free look. I have demonstrations on behalf of Hamas.
Okay. Can you please, as a woman, can you please explain her physical disposition right now?
Oh, that's some serious off-putting body language. She is, well, if looks could kill, I also think she's probably annoyed that she pulled the straw in doing this, because she probably doesn't want to be within any distance of him. And she's physically protecting herself from his evil rays that must be radiating from him.
You can feel the energy. It's very negative.
Notice that they're burning the flag of Israel and the flag of the UK, the flag of Israel and the flag of America. When you have pro-Israel demonstrations, they wave Israeli flags, they wave American flags, they wave British flags.
You're legally allowed to burn a flag if you want to, in case you
I've learned that, yes.
These people are against you, whether you recognize it or not. They will sweep away your societies, your freedoms, your ideas, the values that we cherish, exactly
Prime
as you
Minister,
do.
it really isn't just extreme radicals. There are
I didn't say that,
huge numbers of people who are concerned about Israel's behavior, frankly, including people like me.
Well,
Friends of Israel who are concerned.
Frankly, including Helen Mirren knockoff society women like myself.
Well, and he won't even let her speak because he's a total misogynist pig.
Well, obviously. But I just want you to know, after I have my tea and crumpets, I am totally off-put by your horrible disposition here. You do not belong inside the UK, much less anywhere in the world. You should
let it finish.
Britain was invaded, forgive me, you know. If Britain was invaded and you had the equivalent in Britain, your population is what, 65 million, something like that, 60 million, right? So you're about 6 times our size. So if you had on one day about 8,000 Brits murdered, mutilated, raped, and kidnapped, and they came right next to London.
And again, but neither of them, well, I don't know, I didn't see past this clip of the video, but why doesn't anybody say that's not true? There were no rapes. There were none of that was true from what he's referencing. And it's unbelievable. And
because
yeah, I agree with what people are saying. I don't think anybody should give him a platform. I don't think anybody should talk to him unless it's to lure him in to arrest him. I don't think that he should be given the time of day. And I think that his end should be excruciatingly painful. That's what I think.
And according to Travers, who is in Ireland, this lass is doing a good job by being a journalist by UK standards. And that's, you know, look, better late than ever, way too late.
Again, he should be being arrested. He's literally standing where he is supposed to be arrested.
Correct. Which is why, to bring the whole conversation this evening full circle, when the empire is collapsing, the only thing it has left at its disposal is its military might. That's all it has. So when you see Venezuela, when you see Ukraine, when you see Gaza, when you now see Tehran, perhaps even, I mean, I know it's not likely, but even still, Taiwan, military overexpansion is one of the most obvious signs of a collapsing empire. And we're doing this on their behalf. So when we say we must do away with the Zio state once and for all and bury Ben Little Shapiro in the ground with or without his little hat on his head, yes, that's our job. That's what we're here to do. So we hope you've enjoyed this conversation this evening. And may the end of the Zio state come sooner rather than later. We have one more super chat to get to before the evening is out. Citizen Peñejo with the 50 pesos.
I think it's pendejo. Because there's a D.
It is pendejo. That's right.
Pendejo.
Pendejo. I co-signed with Lieutenant Colonel Aguilar, says, on top of being an IDF subsidiary on American soil, ICE is also a gigantic grift.
Absolutely.
A lot of money.
I also, again, will reiterate, I find it unconstitutional. But
I do too.
Who am I?
Who are you?
Who am I?
Who are? Did you say that again?
I said, who am I? What do I know about it?
You're the co-host of the Revolutionary Change podcast. That's who you are.
I am without my constitution right now, though, because it's still in Florida. But yeah.
Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. Do you recall?
Pendejo. I was right.
That's what I said. Well,
although that's coming from JB, which I don't know if JB knows.
JB probably knows.
Oh, they want to know when we're doing a poll again. All right, we'll come up with a good poll to do. We'll come up with a good poll for Thursday. What do we have coming up on Thursday, Peter?
Yeah, what do we have coming up on Thursday, Jen?
Well, look on the calendar, Peter.
I don't have the calendar in front of me at the moment.
All right, I'll pull it up. I will look. But I'm going to need my trusty assistant to start coming in here and facilitating the ravioli process because
Rachel making a good old ravioli.
Rachel, well, it's both of us, but I don't see anybody on the calendar for the 15th. That doesn't mean it isn't there. It just means I don't see it.
Is Rach there?
She's around. She's around somewhere.
Well,
but yeah, a lot of good things.
Yeah, the A channel with the 199. I got to go take my blood pressure pill. I'm sorry this evening. Oh, okay. So
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Colonel Larry Wilkerson and Staff Sergeant Dennis Fritz will be joining us on Thursday. Two of our very favorite people. And who knows, maybe the war will have already started. And
we'll be talking definitely Iran and Venezuela with them. And I know they have a lot of choice things to say.
They always do. And they're always two of our faves. Thank you all. We love you all. We'll see you Thursday.
Free Palestine.
Good night, guys.